Chapter 1473. Why? Why do I have to submit to that wild dog? I might have a way. As soon as Chu Yang left, Xia Wanjin roared in his mind. Clearly, he was very dissatisfied with someone and was venting the anger in his heart. Wild dog, hee. Instantly, a sinister and strange laughter sounded in Xia Wanjin's mind. Let me give you a piece of advice. In the future, when you see your master, you have to be as respectful as you can. Otherwise, it'll be too late for regrets. Don't say I didn't warn you. The voice was ancient and hoarse, and it was extremely evil. Evil god, are you joking? Evil god, there was actually an evil god in Xia Wanjin's body. If others knew, it would be terrible. Joking? The evil voice sounded again. Is Rock Sage joking? Do you think your master is just shameless? It seems like you're simply an idiot. Stupid beyond compare. What? Xia Wanjin was shocked. You're my host now. Who do you think I want to submit to? The evil voice mocked. In terms of pride, wasn't he even prouder? He was an ancient evil god. How could he submit to a junior, an ant? However, the ancient evil god was also very wary of Chu Yang, even fearful. After a slight hesitation, he spoke again. I'd better make it clear to you. Otherwise, such a great opportunity will slip away from your hands. Opportunity? What kind of opportunity could there be? Don't be unconvinced. The ancient evil god sneered. Do you know why Rock Sage is so respectful to your master? Just now, when he endured Rock Sage's self-created transcendence technique, I felt an extremely strong Demon Master aura from his body. Do you know what that means? Demon Master! Xia Wanjin's body suddenly trembled. His face was incomparably pale without a trace of blood, and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Demon Master, the master of all demons, the ruler of all darkness, all evil, and all sin. He only appeared in rumors, but no one had ever seen him before. No one knew how terrifying the Demon Master was, but every supreme figure was very respectful when the Demon Master was mentioned. Kiki, the ancient evil god, laughed strangely. Are you surprised? Your master not only has the aura of a Demon Master, but also the aura of a Divine Master. What? Xia Wanjin felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His entire body trembled as his mind buzzed and went blank. He was terrified to the extreme. After a while he asked, Is that possible? The Divine Master is the master of gods, and the Devil Master is his mortal enemy. How can they coexist? At this moment, the ancient evil god couldn't bring himself to laugh. He said solemnly, This is where the fear lies. If I wasn't crippled, I would definitely seize his body. I'm sure that if one could comprehend the mysteries of Qiuzhong, they would definitely become the most powerful existence. What a pity! Demon Master! Divine Master! Xia Wanjin couldn't calm down for a long time. The wild dog in his eyes was actually such a terrifying existence. How was provoking such a person different from committing suicide? Now, he finally understood why Chu Yang could do such a shocking thing. These shocking things were all natural. He was even sure that Chu Yang had hidden most of his strength. You understand now, the ancient evil god said. The ancient evil god said, If it wasn't for your master wanting to boost the reputation of the Eastern Barren Territory, you wouldn't have been able to get such an opportunity. You would have definitely been silently killed by him, and become a ghost that died in vain. You should thank those idiots from the Eastern Continent. Then he should really be Eastern Wilderness 002. Chapter 1474. Xia Wanjin's body shook violently, then he let out a long sigh and spoke again. I know what to do. You need to change your mindset. Now you need to enter the identity of a servant, humble, respectful, and loyal. If your master does not die in the end, you will receive far more than you can imagine. The ancient demon god disdainfully said, Your dream of becoming the head of the Xia family is nothing but a fart. because of my master, not only can I be resurrected, you will also become a supreme existence, second only to one above millions or even immortal." As he spoke, the ancient demon god suddenly muttered to himself, "The heavenly Tao seems to have changed, the master's appearance is most likely the arrival of a new era. This time, the changes in the heavenly Tao will be far more intense than before." Supreme existence. Xia Wanjin did not hear what the ancient demon god was saying, only these words were in his mind. Originally, he thought that becoming the head of the Xia family would be extremely difficult, but now, he actually had the chance to become one of the supreme existences. He was so excited that his hands trembled, suddenly feeling that his plan was not perfect enough. He suddenly said to the ancient demon god, "I am afraid that the master's strategy is not targeted enough. I am afraid that it will not please the master and win his trust. I hope you can give me a suggestion." "Kiki." The ancient demon god laughed strangely. "You are not hopeless, you changed quickly enough." Xia Wanjin was not ashamed. He did not know how terrifying Chu Yang was before, but now that he knew, how could this be considered a humiliation? Just as the ancient demon god said, this was a supreme opportunity, a great fortune for him. First of all, you have to open your heart to Master. You have to express your loyalty to Chu Yang. You have to treat Master as your brother. A brother that you are willing to sacrifice your life for. You must remember this position, but you have to take it slowly. The ancient demon god said seriously, "Did you notice, when the Master was in danger, that parrot and the 3 people in the eastern wilderness dared to stand up and treat the Master as a brother? They are your best role models. As for my Master, he's actually not a mean person. He values friendship and righteousness. If you can do that, he." Xia Wanjin instantly understood. He looked over at the parrot and Cui Xinho, and his eyes suddenly filled with envy. The parrot and the others stared blankly, completely at a loss as to what was going on. "They are no match for you. Your opponent is Xiong Longxiang. 1. Bear, dragon, elephant." Xia Wanjin's mind buzzed. Although there was rock sage, because of Lu Yunpeng's attitude, Lu Yunpeng did not have the upper hand. Xiong Longxiang, on the other hand, had pledged his allegiance to Chu Yang before he and Lu Yunpeng had pledged their allegiance to him. Moreover, he was able to put his mind at ease and did his best to assist Chu Yang in subduing them. Thus, he must have obtained a great favorable impression from Chu Yang and left him far behind. "Did you notice?" The ancient demon god said coldly, "You're not even as good as Xiong Longxiang." Before, Xiong Longxiang was already able to cooperate with the parrot. Therefore, if you don't pay attention, your position in the Master's heart will fall behind Xiong Longxiang. Xiong Longxiang is really a big threat. Chapter 1475. There's no need. The evil god cackled. Master is as cunning as a ghost. He already knew that he was exposed. Plus, he guessed Sage Peng's character. That's why he was so close to Sage Peng. Sage Peng also realized how terrifying Master is. That's why he followed Master's advice. There's no need for this. Master already knew the consequences of being exposed and hid it very well. That shocking result was now completely logical in Xia Wanjin's eyes. There was nothing inconceivable about it. There was a reason behind it. As for Chu Yang's shamelessness, recklessness, and recklessness, as well as his wanton joking and cursing, all of that was just a facade. If they thought that Chu Yang was such a person, then they would have been fooled the moment this thought popped up in their heads. They would have been extremely stupid. Sage Peng was like Lu Yunpeng. Everything could be explained. Don't be in a daze. Don't let Xiong Longxiang take the lead. Xia Wanjin didn't understand what the evil god was saying. I'm talking about the parrot and the 3 from the eastern wilderness. The evil god immediately reminded him. Master was very worried about them before he left. Although Sage Peng spoke, it doesn't mean that there aren't any crazy people. Xia Wanjin instantly understood. The parrot was extremely despicable and hateful. The three from the eastern wasteland probably hated those three too much because of the lightning punishment they triggered. He immediately said to the parrot and the others, "The four of you, come over here." Everyone was still in shock and admiration because of Chu Yang. In the midst of intense discussion, the clamor was endless. Suddenly, when they heard Xia Wanjin speak, they couldn't help but fall silent. They all looked at Xia Wanjin in astonishment. In the past, Xia Wanjin would have felt incomparably humiliated when faced with such fiery gazes. But now, he could only sneer. "What's going on?" Cui Xinho and the others were a bit stunned. They pointed at themselves in disbelief. The parrot's eyes widened. "Don't misunderstand," Xia Wanjin said. "My soul imprint is in Master's hands. If any of you are seriously injured, I'll have to pay with my life. So that's how it is." Cui Xinho and the others heard this and unconsciously leaned over. The parrot cursed, "Bah! You jinx! Can't you say something nice?" Then, it shouted towards the crowd, "This divine bird is the Peng Saint's great-grandson, who dares to cause trouble for this divine bird. This damned bird!" Xia Wanjin finally understood why Chu Yang would sometimes pluck all the feathers off this damned bird. Right now, he also had the same impulse. No one responded. The parrot fluttered towards Xia Wanjin and landed on Hao Haodong's shoulder. "Dang dang, your shoulder is not bad." This excuse made Hao Haodong roll his eyes. "Damn it, I actually let Xia Wanjin beat me to it." Seeing this, Xiong Longxiang secretly stomped his foot and immediately moved closer to Xia Wanjin. Xia Wanjin naturally could not drive them away. From now on, he, Xiong Longxiang, and Lu Yunpeng would be a single entity. "Xiao Chang'e is really just a ghost who died unjustly," Xia Wanjin secretly said in his heart. He unconsciously broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, he was a little cautious. Otherwise, he might really end up like Xiao Chang'e. Seeing this scene, the soul-merged sage, the Dharma characteristic sage, and the Nirvana sage were secretly shocked. Even someone as arrogant as Xia Wanjin is now like this. I should also work harder. Chapter 1476. Sister, did you see that? Did I trick you? The little lowly remembered Enin and said proudly, "Fortunately, I reminded you that you must make brother-in-law take responsibility for you. Otherwise, brother-in-law's husband would have left long ago. You wouldn't even have a place to cry." Suddenly, Ji Yinming's face turned red. She couldn't stand her sister anymore and started to teach her a lesson. She roared, "Ji Yinin, I think you're rebelling." Ji Yinin screamed, but she wasn't convinced. "Sister Urk, you're obviously attracted to brother-in-law. Why are you pretending?" Remembering that Yin Meng was even angrier, she was even more ruthless. The two sisters were immediately thrown into a state of chaos, with chicken feathers all over the ground. Many people in the Sky Academy felt suffocated and then sighed. It wasn't strange that Ji Yinmeng liked someone like Chu Yang. If they were women, they would probably make the same choice as Ji Yinmeng. The fierce battle between Chu Yang and Lu Yunpeng spread quickly. The appearance of Saint Peng, asking Lu Yunpeng to hand over his soul imprint, threatening and warning everyone in the eastern continent that anyone who insulted Lu Yunpeng would die. These mysterious and bizarre things spread even faster and caused an even bigger commotion. Compared to Chu Yang's use of the space-time tunnel seal, it caused a bigger sensation and had a more far-reaching impact. It made everyone realize that from now on, there would be a saint standing behind the eastern wilderness. In this way, no one in the East continent would dare to wantonly humiliate and kill people in the eastern wilderness. Even the Sky Academy had to pay more attention to someone like Chu Yang. They probably wouldn't dare to disrespect him. This was the power of a saint. There weren't many saints in the East continent. As for a saint like Sage Peng, even if the saints in the East continent dared to fight him over such a small matter, they would probably be slapped to death by him. Rock Sage was not an ordinary saint. There were many supreme figures. Even if their cultivation level was much higher than Rock Sage's, they would not dare to look down on him. On the other side, Rock Saint took Chu Yang out of Sky Academy and came to a forest. Layers upon layers of mountains covered in a thick layer of wild grass. Vigorous, emerald-green pine trees stood proudly among the wild grass. The mountain wind blew, and the sound of the pine trees rustled. Not far away, the sound of a small spring tinkling could be heard. The flowing water seemed to be playing a happy song. There were no traces of humans in this mountain forest. It was a dangerous place, and the scenery was beautiful. After reaching this place, Sacred Rock's shadow silently disappeared. Only Chu Yang and Lu Yunpeng were left behind. Chu Yang saw that Lu Yunpeng was not convinced, so he beat him up. Only then did Lu Yunpeng calm down. Humph! Just as Chu Yang stopped, an old man walked out of the void with a cold snort. He looked at Lu Yunpeng and said, "You're too disappointing. You still haven't comprehended anything. Go there and reflect. I'll deal with you after I'm done talking to your brother." Lu Yunpeng left angrily. "Little friend, what do you think of my grandson?" Rock Sage suddenly asked Chu Yang as he watched Lu Yunpeng leave. His tone was completely different from before, and Chu Yang did not dare to be mischievous. "He's talented, but too arrogant." Chu Yang was not very familiar with Lu Yunpeng. This was the limit of what he could say. "Little friend, aren't you arrogant?" Chu Yang smiled. "I can't escape the word arrogant either. However, I'm better than him. I won't put on a sour face whenever I go there. Then I'll have to trouble you in the future." Chu Yang smiled bitterly. He really couldn't get rid of this burden. He could only smile and say, "I say, grandfather, aren't you treating me like an outsider?" "Ha ha!" Sacred Rock laughed. "Little friend, your nature is to my liking." "Of course," Chu Yang flattered. "Why don't you see whose grandson I am?" Chapter 1477. In the spacious and quiet forest, the incense was burning, its fragrance drifting in the air. Pring Sage's sudden words gave Chu Yang a fright. It wasn't because of the Divine Lord or Demon Lord, but because of Pring Sage's sudden action. The existence of the godly demon martial spirit brought his consciousness out of that dark space, allowing Chu Yang to transcend. Therefore, just like the ancient evil god thought, he already knew that Pring Sage must have noticed his godly demon martial spirit. A sage was a sage after all, even if an ordinary person's martial spirit didn't reveal itself, a sage wouldn't be able to hide it. He was naturally an exception, but his godly demon martial spirit was finally revealed. How could it not be noticed? That's good this way, because of the godly demon martial spirit. He shouldn't know that I have both the heavenly spirit world and the myriad god world's world force. This is the best. It wasn't that Sage Pung couldn't discover such a secret. Rather, he thought it was impossible. Therefore, he didn't even think about it. Otherwise, how could Chu Yang hide it? Whether it's a divine lord or a demon lord, this junior doesn't know, but this junior does have a very strong martial spirit. Chu Yang said, he couldn't hide this secret anymore. He might as well tell the truth. "Your martial spirit has transcended?" Chu Yang thought for a moment, then shook his head. "No, if that was the case, this junior would be a dead man by now." "Then what did you transcend?" "The two are like enemies, there must be a balance, it has a great influence on me. Now, I don't need to do that, so I've transcended." Chu Yang was absolutely speaking the truth. If Peng Sage was wrong, then it wasn't his fault, after all. He really did transcend the rules of the heavenly spirit world and the myriad god world. "You're very bold." "Ha ha!" Chu Yang laughed. "Senior, this junior is a madman, I naturally have to follow suit. After all, if you want to pretend to be 13, you need to have some ability." Pring Sage smiled, looking at Chu Yang as if he was looking at a younger version of himself. He suddenly said, "Look at me, what do you see?" This question was somewhat inexplicable, but Chu Yang was momentarily stunned. Rock Sage had a head of white hair, but his face was very red. His figure could only be described in this way. He was not a bit thinner, but he was definitely not a bit fatter. It seemed to be the most perfect figure. His figure seemed to be the embodiment of the great Tao. His appearance was ordinary, but his eyes were a little sharp. His face was kind and benevolent. He didn't seem to have any cultivation. He was mature, steady, and elegant. He looked like an old man who was well-read, but also like an old man playing chess under a big tree. Such an appearance had nothing to do with the famous Saint Peng, a dignified saint. All of this fell into Chu Yang's eyes. It was because he deeply understood how shocking Peng Saint was. When his gaze peeled away the outer appearance of the secular world, he shockingly saw the heavens, the earth, and all life. Everything in Rock Sage's body, the flow of his blood, the operation of his organs, and so on, seemed to be operating according to the rules of the heavenly Tao. Apart from that, Rock Sage's body emitted a faint light. This light was projected by his spiritual perception. It was clear that his soul was incomparably powerful. Suddenly, Chu Yang felt that because of Rock Sage's existence, the mountain forest he was in had undergone a strange change. Flowers, trees, rocks, they were all located in an orderly manner, forming a great mystery. Chapter 1478. Mind Interference Matter. Suddenly, Chu Yang figured out the crux of the matter. People had auras. Some had weak auras while others had strong auras. Those with strong auras were usually very charming and could affect others. The so-called strong aura was actually referring to the strength of one's soul. Auras were things that leaned towards the mind and soul. Those with strong auras were actually the mental energy they emitted that affected others. Heart and Qi as one, man and heaven as one, mind and Tao as one. It was an extremely profound realm that could only be understood and not explained. If one couldn't understand, then it was useless to talk. Like Sage Peng, whose soul was so strong that he was one with heaven and earth at all times, heaven and earth were like his body. It wasn't something that could be explained. If Sage Peng hadn't deliberately revealed it, Chu Yang wouldn't have noticed it even if he had the godly demon martial soul. Buzz! Sage Peng suddenly opened his eyes, and Chu Yang immediately felt a great pressure. It was as if the heavens were descending, and he almost suffocated. Thump, thump, thump. Chu Yang took 3 steps back. His heart was beating so fast that it almost jumped out of his chest. At this moment, he finally felt the strength of a sage. Compared to a sage, he was just an ant. No matter how much he relied on, how hard he worked, how crazily he cultivated, and how he challenged all kinds of dangers and limits, it was still the difference between heaven and earth. What else did you see? Sage Peng's eyes flashed with great surprise. Chu Yang had sensed it so deeply that it was far beyond his imagination. He originally thought that Chu Yang wouldn't be able to sense it, but he never expected that this kid in front of him would be so shocking and have such a deep comprehension. When Sage Peng was young, he knew that he couldn't do it. As for his grandson, Lu Yunpeng, there was no need to talk about it. He couldn't even sense it. If Saint Peng was a person, then Lu Yunpeng would be a small pebble. No matter how great his achievements were, Lu Yunpeng wouldn't be able to understand the slightest bit of extraordinariness. As for Chu Yang, he was like a 6 or 7-year-old child. He clearly knew that Saint Peng was a great figure. He even knew what his great achievements meant and what they represented. Chu Yang lowered his eyes and thought for a long time without saying anything. Rock Sage said, "I haven't fought with anyone for more than 100 years. I only seek to get rid of calamities, seek the great Tao, seek to transcend and be free in the world. In my opinion, a battle or a life or death battle is a waste of life. It will cause the mind to be covered in dust, and the ability to comprehend will be obscured. People will also become dull." Chu Yang knew that the rock sage wanted to discuss the Tao with him. He smiled bitterly in his heart. He really thinks highly of me. He immediately became extremely cautious. The rock sage seemed to only be opening his mouth, but in fact it was incomparably fierce. It was far more dangerous than a battle between warriors. The rock sage wanted to fight with him. The only difference was the method. This was questioning his heart and shaking his beliefs. If other people fought like this, Chu Yang wouldn't need to care at all. He could just let it go in one ear and out the other, treating it as bullshit. However, this was the rock sage. His words contained his spirit force. In such a battle, he wouldn't be able to refute or win. In that case, Chu Yang's mind would be invaded by the rock sage's spirit force, affecting everything about him. Chapter 1479. Chu Yang felt that this was actually a question. What is martial? What is Tao? Bravery is martial arts, decisiveness in killing is martial arts, and generosity in dying for justice is martial arts. Similarly, diligence is martial. Optimism is martial. Calmness in the face of danger is martial. A promise is martial. Loyalty is also martial. As for the Tao, everyone had their own Tao. Everyone also had their own understanding of the Tao. Different people sought different Taos, so their Taos were different. To put it simply, this was like a clash of values. If one agreed, one would change one's thinking and worldview. It was fine if the other party's idea was correct. If the other party's understanding was incorrect, then it would be beyond redemption. Even if the other party's idea was correct, if one lacked thought and did not have their own things, then they would be like a puppet being controlled. In martial arts, such a formless confrontation was even more dangerous. If one's belief in martial arts was shaken, then the cultivation that they had painstakingly cultivated and the solid foundation would be greatly shaken. All of their previous efforts would be wasted. Rock Sage's words made Chu Yang's martial arts worthless. However, was Chu Yang willing to fight and kill? Was he willing to fight? He had no choice. He finally spoke. The world is dangerous and demonic. Without the means to subdue demons, how can one live peacefully in this world? Cultivation is a struggle against heaven and earth. Without fighting, how can one advance to the next level? Even supreme eminent monks who are compassionate do not lack the means to kill enemies and eliminate demons. What Rock Sage was asking Chu Yang now was actually the same question that a supreme eminent monk had asked him in the past. He was greatly influenced by the eminent monk. Now, he wanted to see how Chu Yang would answer. Chu Yang's answer was the same as when he was young. Therefore, he was not surprised at all. Martial arts are no match for calamity. Divine arts are no match for karma. The stronger the martial arts, the stronger the divine arts, the more demonic obstacles there are. In the end, there is no way to kill. How can your martial arts and Tao exist? Martial arts have many means, but they are all external. Divine arts are like demonic obstacles. The stronger the divine arts, the greater the demonic obstacles. The stronger the divine arts, the greater the demonic obstacles. This sentence was actually quite simple to understand. If divine abilities were compared to authority, the greater the authority, the greater the problem one had to deal with. The more difficult it was, the stronger the political enemies one would face. This made the great men of Chu Yang's previous life seem to be worthless. However, there were some things that needed to be done, and someone had to do it. If there were no great people, who would be able to lead the masses out of suffering? He was very cautious. Under the influence of Rock Sage's spirit force, if he failed, the consequences would be unbearable. Chu Yang lowered his eyes again. After a long time, he suddenly opened his eyes and said, "You are too stubborn." This kind of debate was a formless exchange of blows. It was even more dangerous than a martial arts competition. Chu Yang naturally wouldn't care about the other party's identity and weaken his momentum. In addition, according to what you said, does that mean that everyone has to become a monk and be merciful, abstain from meat and recite Buddhist scriptures? Never fight, never kill. When you are powerless and meet a ferocious tiger that wants to eat you, how are you going to deal with it? It's true that the illusion of emptiness is not bad, but the fate of the world is like a tangle of hemp. There are layers of restraints. Only by holding a sharp knife and cutting the hemp can one be free, not bound by things and free from freedom. Facing Chu Yang's continuous questioning, Rock Sage settled it with a single sentence. It's not that I'm stubborn. It's that you haven't seen through it. It's not that I haven't seen through it, but it's that you are too stubborn. There are countless great Daos in the world. How can you be the only one who can reach the other shore? How can you be so sure that only your Tao is right? That your Tao will definitely lead you to paradise and not hell? Chu Yang directly asked, have you walked to the end of your Tao? Have you seen the end of everything? Chapter 1480. At this moment, it was Rock Sage's turn to be silent. He didn't expect that this little fellow's will would be so unshakable. No matter what he said, he still adhered to his own Tao and didn't lose himself, continuing on his own path. To put it bluntly, this thing didn't understand human language and couldn't listen to others' advice. Only when he realized that he was wrong would it be wrong. If he had been like this little guy when he was young, he probably wouldn't have been misled by that senior monk and wasted his time lamenting. People of different Daos cannot work together. Sage Peng's final conclusion. He put away the spirit power that affected Chu Yang and said, why did my Peng/Dao art fail? At this moment, Sage Peng completely approved of Chu Yang, which was why he asked such a question. As he spoke, he transmitted all the mysteries of the Peng/Dao art into Chu Yang's consciousness. Chu Yang sat cross-legged on the ground and carefully comprehended and deduced. After a long time, he expressed his opinion and changed the way he addressed Sage Peng. Senior, do you know everything about the Kuan Peng? I don't care about the Kuan Peng. Why do I need to know about it? Chu Yang pointed at the ancient tree about 10 feet away from him and said, Senior, how far are you from this ancient tree? About 10 feet. Boom. Chu Yang raised his hand and blew up that tree. Not a single drop remained, and only a big pit was left there. What if there wasn't this tree? It's still about 10 feet. Senior, didn't you also find something to replace that tree? Sage Peng smiled and said, I did find a replacement. If the Kuan Peng is that tree, I have the rock race's martial path to replace it. Why would I care about whether there is a tree or not? Senior, if you are just an ordinary person with ordinary eyesight and can't see the bottom of the pit from afar, what will you do? If you don't find that tree, are you going to find something else to replace it? Senior, have you found something to replace that tree? It was a fact that the Kuan Peng was stronger than the gold rock. The rock race respected the Kuan Peng so much and set the Kuan Peng as their goal. Of course, it wasn't without reason. Therefore, Chu Yang compared the rock clan's martial arts to the bottom of a pit. This was not wrong, nor was it excessive. The Ice Kuan was a good example. It had yet to transform into a Kuan Peng, but it was already a saint-level Kuan fish. The rock sage was only a saint now. From Chu Yang's point of view, Kuan Peng was a top scientist, while Ice Kuan and Rock Sage were just students. Students had many choices. They did not have to become scientists in the field of Kuan Peng. They could surpass others in other fields. However, as a student, although his IQ was extremely high, his knowledge had to at least reach the level of a scientist before he could surpass a top scientist like Kuan Peng. Chu Yang's reasoning was very simple. He only asked, have you accumulated enough knowledge? Sage Peng was silent for a long time. For many years, he had focused all his energy on the pen-cleaving Tao formula, but he had never discovered it. The problem was that his starting point was too low. He only cared about building a car behind closed doors and completely forgot to absorb nutrients to enrich himself. Are you saying that I'm too arrogant? Rock Sage finally spoke again. Senior, you really think too highly of yourself. Aren't you looking down on Kuan Pung and your ancestors too much? Chu Yang spoke frankly. Senior's ancestors, I'm afraid they definitely did not lack outstanding people, but why did they still worship and respect Kuan Pung so much? The reason why you succeeded in summoning your ancestors was probably because you had great ambitions for me and gave me encouragement. Sage Pung was shocked again. When he created the third move of the pen-cleaving Dao formula, he felt the intent across space and time. It seemed to be true. As for the ancestors of our ancestors, did none of them want to surpass Kuan Pung? Of course, the ancestors of the Gold Rock clan were not without ambition, but why did they all choose to transform into Kuan Pung first? It was because only by standing on the same starting line could they have the qualifications to surpass. What a simple reason. Sage Pung felt that he had lived in vain. He was actually enlightened by a junior. He spoke again. Are you suggesting that I first understand the secrets of Kuan Pung, and then heavily study the pen-cleaving Dao formula? Chu Yang laughed. If that's the case, how can I show off my grandfather's might? If I don't walk the path of Kuan Pung, is there no other path to walk? Then you're equivalent to not saying anything. No. Chu Yang shook his head. I was just farting, it stinks. Chapter 1481. Once the two of them started chatting, it got out of hand. From day to night, Chu Yang and Sage Pung were discussing and exchanging their experiences on the martial Dao. They didn't sleep or rest. Not only were they not tired, they were even more spirited. The two of them chatted from the origin martial realm to the Chi Soul realm, the ascending soul realm, the soul reincarnation realm, the soul amalgamation realm, the transcendence realm, the nirvana realm, the life and death realm, and even the saint realm. After that, they talked about body cultivation, formations, feng shui, fate, astrology, and so on. They talked about everything. During this time, they laughed non-stop, which made Lu Yunping sneak over to see what was going on. He was astonished to find that there were many birds circling above the two of them. He didn't know where the demonic beasts in the forest had come from, but they were densely packed and surrounded the two of them. All of them were listening attentively. Chu Yang had lived 2 lives, and his way of thinking was very different from the heavenly spirit world. He had seen a lot. Moreover, with the help of the reincarnation gourd, he had obtained the memories of many people and understood many things. Among them, the memories of Kong Kuang and Bing Kuan were the most important. This allowed him to talk freely with Sage Pung. As the two of them conversed, Chu Yang realized that Sage Peng's accumulation was truly too vigorous. It was also terrifying, and it was even more shocking. He explained all kinds of martial arts to the point of essence. It was refreshing and enlightening. Rock Sage was also incomparably shocked. Chu Yang's understanding of the martial way was actually more broad-minded than his. Chu Yang's understanding of the martial way was completely different from his. There were many questions about the martial way, but after listening to it, it didn't just feel strange. It was as if he had opened a window to another world. What shocked Sage Pung was that Chu Yang was able to talk about the Saint Realm, Reincarnation Realm, and Heavenly Palace Realm. This made him feel very astonished. Although his understanding wasn't shallow, it was just as novel as the previous ones, making him feel refreshed. After all, Chu Yang was only at the 8th level of the spirit stage. The two of them chatted for a full 8 days and 8 nights. During this time, the two of them did not drink or sleep. At Chu Yang's level, this was no longer necessary. 8 days later, when the sun rose and the first ray of sunlight shone into the forest, Chu Yang and Saint Ping both stopped talking and lowered their eyes. 8 days and 8 nights. My comprehension of the martial Dao has deepened, and my martial Dao foundation has become even more solid. After a long time, the birds dispersed, and the demonic beasts were all gone. Chu Yang opened his eyes, and immediately, the mountain forest was filled with light. He stood up and said, "Grandpa Ping, it's been 8 days and 8 nights. My spirit is exhausted to the extreme. If I continue, it will hurt my spirit. It's already very rare. Saint Peng's aura was extremely calm. There was no sign of fatigue. Instead, it was as if he had rested for 8 days. Grandpa Peng, today is like ascending to the heavens. I'm going to go back and rest. Chu Yang casually moved his limbs that were slightly stiff. His blood chi surged, and his spirit chi surged. The 7 soul realms in his body appeared and connected into a line. He was about to condense his divine soul, but he suppressed it. His heavenly paradise was about to be completed, and his primordial spirit was about to be born. During the 8 days and 8 nights of chatting, Chu Yang had exhausted his spirit more than any battle. He organized the martial Tao from head to toe. When he looked at the world in front of him, he faintly felt that the world in front of him was different. The connection between man and the world was closer. Go. Saint Ping sighed in his heart. Even a saint might not be able to chat with him for 8 days and 8 nights because their knowledge might not be able to keep up with him. However, this brat in front of him did it. Chapter 1482. Swish. In front of the rock sage, Chu Yang did not deliberately hide. He used the space-time technique and instantly disappeared. He returned to the Sky Quartz space-time passage seal. Seeing the parrot, Xia Wanjin, and Xiong Longxiang ignore him, he closed his eyes and quickly fell into a deep sleep. His aura was slow and distant. With every breath he took, his cultivation dropped bit by bit. Spirit Realm Level 7. Spirit Realm Level 6. Spirit Realm Level 5. Soon, his cultivation dropped to the Tao Wheel Soul Realm and continued to drop. Ascending Soul Realm, Chi Soul Realm, Primitive Martial Realm. Until it dropped back to Level 1 of the Primitive Martial Realm. The parrot, Cui Xinho, and the others were fine, but Xia Wanjin and Xiong Longxiang were dumbfounded. His cultivation dropped just like that. The martial realm was like a pagoda that was built. The stronger the foundation, the more difficult it was to push it down and start all over again, let alone someone like Chu Yang. Regardless of whether it was Xia Weijin or Xiong Longxiang, Chu Yang's foundation in martial arts was something that they couldn't compare to. After all, Chu Yang was only at the 8th level of the spirit stage, and he could easily kill a law phase realm existence. Kiki. The ancient demon god laughed strangely in Xia Wanjin's spiritual world. Master, I'm afraid that you have gained a great understanding from talking with the rock sage. I feel that his aura has a feeling of cleansing and returning to the original state. It has become even more elusive. Xia Wanjin naturally noticed this, but he didn't care about it. Master, how can you let your cultivation drop to the bottom so easily? What's so strange about this? The ancient demon god said, didn't you notice? This is not something that Master did consciously. It is like the heavenly Tao realizing that its rules are incomplete and automatically adjusting. Sizzle! He exclaimed, as expected of the owner of the Demon Lord and Divine Lord. He is not bound by any restrictions and can break through everything with a wave of his hand. Xia Wanjin was speechless. He did not know what to say anymore. There were many geniuses and monsters in the central state, and he had seen many of them, but none of them could compare to the master in front of him. Feel it well, and don't think about the test. It's already a done deal that you'll enter the inner yard. It doesn't matter even if you miss the final test. No one will dare to make things difficult for you. In the past, Sima Jian did not have the confidence to say such words, but now he did. Saint Peng, the Saint Peng of the Central State. He had heard of the Saint Peng before, but he never thought that Chu Yang would actually be able to turn the Saint Peng into their backer. He even made the Saint Peng threaten the entire eastern state. This was something that he had never dreamt of. Sima Jian was a little absent-minded as he spoke. The group of people before them had risked their lives, but in the end, he was the only one who survived. The results he obtained were actually not as good as what Chu Yang had done 8 days ago. The Eastern wilderness had the backing of a powerful saint. This was the beginning of history, a historical change. What surprised Sima Jian the most was that the friendship between Chu Yang and the Saint Peng was not as superficial as he thought. Because of him, I comprehended the mystery of life and death. I reincarnated from the dead and saved my life. I even almost broke through to the saint realm. Sima Jian thought to himself, perhaps I should ask him for advice. Perhaps he can help me break through to the saint realm very quickly. Sima Jian felt that meeting Chu Yang was a very fortunate thing. It was not because he saved his life and might break through to the saint realm, but because he believed that the things that people of his generation had vowed to do would become a reality in Chu Yang's hands. Chapter 1483. After Sima Jian spoke, it wasn't just the parrot, Cui Xinho, Xia Wanjin, and Xiong Longxiang who calmed down and carefully sensed the changes in Chu Yang's body. After Chu Yang's cultivation fell to the origin martial realm, it began to recover bit by bit. Time passed silently. At this time, Sage Peng called Lu Yunpeng over and asked, "Do you understand now?" Lu Yunpeng didn't say anything. Sigh. Sage Peng sighed. Then let me ask you, do you know where you went wrong? What did I do wrong? Lu Yunpeng stubbornly refuted, but his voice suddenly lowered. If I'm wrong, then it's because I'm not as strong as that wild dog. Wild dog? Sage Peng frowned. You know you're not as strong as others, but do you know why? Lu Yunpeng was stunned, not knowing how to answer. Sage Peng snorted coldly. Wild dog, that's why you're not as strong as others. You're arrogant and domineering in front of the weak, but you're like a quail in front of those stronger than you. Lu Yunpeng still wasn't convinced. This was human nature, but he was immediately reprimanded. You're still not convinced? Who is stronger between the Peng race and the Kuanping race? Do you have the courage of your brother in front of a Kuanping? Do you dare to laugh and curse wantonly in front of a Kuanping? Do you dare to kill a Kuanping? Kuanping? Lu Yunpeng's eyes immediately flashed with fear. Sage Peng was even more displeased. If you think your brother is a wild dog, then are you also a dog in the Kuanping's eyes? This wasn't impossible. It was the truth. Sage Peng's disdain for the Kuanping wasn't without reason. Sage Peng's grandfather had been casually slaughtered by the Kuanping like a dog. Lu Yunpeng knew this very well. Peng. After a long period of silence, Rock Sage said softly, "Remember, although there are strong and weak things in the world, there is no such thing as nobility. The so-called noble and lowly were just added by that disgusting person in order to highlight their existence. If you can't change your mind and think that you're not as good as the Kuanping or the top talents in the Central Plains, then the realm you can reach in your life will be limited. I'm even sure that you can't reach the Saint Realm." "Yes, grandfather." Lu Yunpeng attacked without hesitation. Sigh. Rock Sage let out another long sigh. "What's the point of you brushing me off? It seems like you can't change the things in your bones. You don't even have the logic I'm talking about." In the end, Sage Peng couldn't be bothered to reprimand Lu Yunpeng. He directly said, Go to your big brother's place and listen to your big brother's orders. Now your brother is the only one who can wear you down and make you understand some things." Lu Yunpeng finally couldn't hold back. He bitterly said, "Grandfather, do you think so highly of that wild dog?" "Humph, you really can't change a dog's habit," Rock Sage coldly said. "Then I'll make you understand. If it weren't for you, I would have become friends with your big brother. I can tell you the reason. Your big brother has a way to break through the cleaving Peng Dao art and surpass the Kuanping." "What?" Lu Yunpeng was shocked. He looked at Rock Sage in disbelief. Rock Sage was also a bit dazed. When he looked back, he was already 100 years old. His life had been ruined by the word pride, and he needed a junior's reminder to wake him up. Thinking back, He had also asked for guidance from those whose cultivation was much higher than his. They only praised him and said that they needed time. As for him, he would definitely comprehend the severing Pengming Dao art and he would definitely be able to transcend. Thinking back to all of this, Rock Sage couldn't help but feel stupid. These were all perfunctory words. Those people realized how extraordinary he was and were afraid that he would surpass them. Why would they give him pointers? If it weren't for his stupidity, they might have directly killed him. Chapter 1484. At the seal of the Spacetime Passage, Chu Yang's cultivation recovered from the origin martial realm bit by bit. 9th level of the origin martial realm. 9th level of the spirit realm. 9th level of the ascending soul realm. In the end, he recovered to the 8th level of the spirit realm. At the same time, his martial arts cultivation in the God's world was also recultivated, just like in the heavenly soul world. Therefore, Chu Yang's realm did not improve, but his aura was more amazing than before. After sleeping for 3 days and 3 nights, when he woke up on the 4th day, both Xia Wanjin and Xiong Longxiang felt that Chu Yang had changed. Chu Yang's aura became even more unfathomable. It also seemed to have become even more noble. It was like a flood dragon had transformed into a real dragon. His realm did not change, but the essence of his life had changed. It was incomparably distant and peaceful, allowing them to calm down in an instant and enter the state of enlightenment. Lu Yunping was the most surprised. He felt the aura of his grandfather, Sage Peng, from Chu Yang, but Chu Yang's aura was much weaker than Sage Peng's. Soul power. Chu Yang could do it when he was in the eastern wilderness, so he could immediately detect it after Sage Peng released it. However, his level was much lower than Sage Peng's. Sage Peng could turn a stone into a mouse and a mouse into a cat with just a thought. Soul power could affect matter. This was at least a saint realm. After Chu Yang woke up, he chatted with Parrot and the others for a while, then took Xia Wanjin, Xiong Longxiang, Lu Yunpeng and the others to the Sky Academy's inner courtyard. Chu Yang had killed too many people in the Sky Academy's assessment, so there were not enough people to enter the inner courtyard. Therefore, the Sky Academy had to lower the requirements and let the eliminated students take the assessment again, causing the new students to enter the inner courtyard much later. Today, the Sky Academy gathered the new students of the inner courtyard, congratulated them, and explained various matters. After that, these new students officially became inner courtyard students and entered the inner courtyard. Chu Yang didn't want to make an exception, so he hurried over. When he arrived, the meeting had just ended, and all the teachers of the Sky Academy had left. However, Chu Yang's arrival immediately attracted a lot of attention. "This is Chu Yang." Those who had never seen Chu Yang spoke in their hearts. They had heard of Chu Yang's great name for a long time, and the things he had done were all world-shaking. Chu Yang did not cup his fists and salute everyone like he had done before. This made the parrot very uncomfortable, because this was very unlike Chu Yang. After all, the situation was different now. Chu Yang realized that many of the hostile gazes had disappeared. Even if there were still many hostile gazes, they were all filled with fear. Thus, there was no need for him to taunt them and draw unnecessary hatred. Among the crowd, Chu Yang also found Shangguanlan and Ji Yinmeng. The two women were so eye-catching that it was hard not to notice them. As for Shangguanlan's safe return from the lost world, Chu Yang was also relieved. He didn't want to draw hatred, so he naturally didn't approach the two women. This surprised Shangguanlan, Shangguanmei, and Hong Niao, especially Shangguanlan, who was ready to blush. However, she only saw Chu Yang looking around the inner courtyard like a ruffian under the guidance of Xia Wanjin and Xiong Longxiang. He didn't mean to tease her at all. The Sky Academy was a very large dimensional space. Once they entered it, it was like a plane was imprinted in their eyes. In front of them was a boundless open land, and behind them were countless huge palaces dotted in it. Chapter 1485. At that moment, due to the new students entering, silhouettes were flying around. As the silhouettes flew, the sound of air being torn apart rang out endlessly. There were even powerful dermic powers colliding with each other. It seemed like the students of the inner yard were either fighting or cultivating. When he was about to enter the area where the inner yard students were located, 3 huge stone tablets stood there. Chu Yang could not help but stop and look at the first tablet on the right. In the middle of the tablet there was an extremely bright golden light. Within the golden light were 2 magnificent words, Mortal Ranking. Mortal Ranking, what the hell is this? What does it mean? Chu Yang turned his head and asked Xiong Longxiang beside him. Xiong Longxiang smiled, while Xia Wanjin's face darkened. Lu Yunping was dumbfounded as he looked at the 2 of them. Are they fighting to be the first to please Chu Yang? He had learned this from the rock sage, but where did these 2 fools learn this from? The mortal ranking can actually be called the transcendence ranking. Xiong Longxiang looked at the other 2 towering tablets and said, the other 2 are called the earth ranking and the heaven ranking. The earth ranking can also be called the nirvana ranking, while the heaven ranking can be called the life and death ranking. Chu Yang looked at the earth ranking and heaven ranking, and after hearing Xiong Longxiang's explanation, he more or less understood. Xiong Longxiang continued, although they can be called that, there is no realm requirement for the mortal ranking, earth ranking, or heaven ranking. As long as you feel that you can challenge them, you can challenge any of the tablets at any time. This is to encourage students to compete with each other. Chu Yang thought to himself. The inner yard, the elite yard, and the holy disciples all have these 3 tablets. After Xiong Longxiang finished speaking, he reminded Chu Yang, Master, you have to be careful. After you enter the inner yard, I'm afraid that there will be many people who want to challenge you. That's right. Xia Wanjin also nodded and said, Master, although you are very famous and have made a name for yourself in the outer yard, you are equivalent to nothing in the inner yard. They look down on the outer yard students, so they will not pay much attention to you, Master, nor will they feel how terrifying you are. Therefore, even if they are afraid of Master, I'm afraid they won't think highly of you. Waha, this is the best. The parrot on Chu Yang's shoulder laughed strangely and said, Someone has provoked Chu Hang. This will be a good show to watch. Chu Yang frowned slightly. He didn't like this result. After doing so much, was this all that he got? However, he understood that what Xiong Longxiang and Xia Wanjin said was the truth. The outer court and inner court were separated. It was like one was a junior high school and the other was a senior high school. No matter how strong a junior high student was, a senior high student wouldn't care. Chu Yang immediately paid attention to the rankings on the 3-stone tablet. The first one he looked at was the ranking list of young masters. Gong Sun Long. He soon found Gong Sun Long unexpectedly. Gong Sun Long wasn't able to enter the top 10. This made Chu Yang slightly surprised. Master, the top 10 are either extreme realm practitioners or divine arts practitioners. Generally speaking, they can kill people with their realms. Xia Wanjin said before Xiong Longxiang could. As for Gong Sun Long, he is not simple. It shouldn't be a problem for him to enter the top 10. That's right. Xiong Longxiang immediately said. Qian Zi of the Qianquan party said that Gong Sun Long will be under him in the future. Both of them noticed that when Chu Yang saw Gong Sun Long's name, there was an obvious change. There was even a faint murderous intent. Although Xia Wanjin didn't know the reason, he knew that this was enough. However, Xiong Longxiang clearly knew that Chu Yang and Qian Zi had a grudge against each other. As for Gong Sun Long, it seemed like it was the same. Therefore, how could he give this opportunity to Xia Wanjin? Qian Zi. Chu Yang couldn't help but frown. Then, his black eyes looked at the towering giant stone tablet. He focused his gaze and saw that the stone tablet was shining with a golden light. Within those dazzling rays of light, There were numerous names that carried supreme glory as they were engraved on them. Chapter 1486. On the first position of the heaven list, Chu Yang saw the two words, Qianzi. This meant that even if Qianzi was not the first person in the Sky Academy, he was at least the second or third person. He was not too surprised, but he thought to himself, this Qianzi is really not simple. Chu Yang also took a glance at the terrestrial rankings. He roughly looked through the names on it. Finally, he learned that the Academy would give generous rewards to anyone who successfully challenged the 3 rankings. Like Chu Yang, many new students stared at the dazzling names in a daze. Although it was just a name, it was like a giant mountain that reached the sky. In the eyes of many students, it became extremely majestic and lofty. Boom! Suddenly, a huge sonic boom came from the depths of the inner courtyard. In the blink of an eye, a person appeared in front of the new students. It was a young man in a green shirt, about 20 years old. He had an extremely handsome face. His face was as white as jade, masculine, and extremely delicate. His slender figure and unique temperament faintly exuded from him, revealed a powerful charm. As soon as he appeared, many girls among the new students saw him and suddenly blushed. They even seemed to not dare to continue looking at the young man after glancing at him, but they could not help secretly looking at him again. Their gazes were so shy that many girls blushed. Damn, what a peerlessly handsome man. He's so lethal. Chu Yang was unhappy and muttered, I'm also good-looking in this life. Why didn't I receive such treatment? When he noticed that Shangguan Lan's beautiful eyes were also looking at the young man, his displeasure reached its peak. This gigolo, I must seize the opportunity to beat him up. How dare you seduce my wife? Chu Yang could not help but say. The young man in a green shirt nodded at Shangguan Lan, but she ignored him. Then his eyes scanned the whole place as if he was looking for someone. When he found Chu Yang, his eyes suddenly flashed. You are Chu Yang. Damn it, I didn't look for trouble with you, but you came to find trouble with me. Chu Yang wanted to argue with him, but when he sensed the death qi emitted from the young man, he instantly felt depressed. Life and death realm cultivation, how can I argue with you? Humph! The young man in a green shirt immediately sneered at Chu Yang. His laughter, wrapped in vigorous spiritual power, rumbled like thunder and resounded in the area, attracting countless people's attention to him and Chu Yang. Yes, I am Chu Yang. Someone came to find trouble with him. How could Chu Yang be afraid? He was never afraid of trouble. Moreover, if he showed weakness now, he was afraid that there would be more people coming to find trouble with him. You're that thing again. Chu Yang's tone was unfriendly. How many times do I have to say this? Before you look for trouble, carefully consider your gender, habits, and so on. I invite you to be prepared to introduce yourself before you show your face. The young man in a green shirt did not care about such provocation. He only smiled and said, You're really surprising. You're only at the 9th level of the spirit stage. Chu Yang's understanding of Xiong Longxiang and Xia Wanjin's words deepened. The inner court really did not pay attention to the outer court. Even though he had caused chaos in the sky court, the young man in front of him did not seem to know about it. Otherwise, he would not be so surprised. The young man in a green shirt smiled playfully and said to himself, If Kong Jingshi knew that you were so weak, he would probably explode from anger. The order he chose was actually worse than you. There was a hidden meaning in his words. He was talking about why this guy came to find him. Chu Yang narrowed his eyes. Thing, tell me your name. Chapter 1487. Chen Burang. It was only 3 words, but the entire audience was in an uproar. Loud exclamations instantly broke out. Chen Burang? Oh my God, is he the 6th person on the heaven list? At this moment, many people looked up at the heaven roll. There was no mistake about it. The 6th name on the heaven roll was Chen Burang's name. Many people had seen it just now, but they were still in disbelief. Could it be someone with the same name? After all, it's possible to have the same name. I didn't hear his tone just now. Even if it's someone with the same name, this Chen Burang must be the Chen Burang on the heaven list. Could there be a mistake? What kind of cultivation does the sixth person on the heaven list have? How could it be? However, that person couldn't continue speaking halfway. Chen Burang was powerful, but Chu Yang wasn't easy to bully either. Although he was only at the spirit stage and had just entered the inner court, his performance was even more amazing than the other inner court students. At least, that was the case in the outer court. However, it wasn't the case in the inner court. Very few people in the inner court paid attention to the outer court because of the difference in levels. The inner court students usually paid attention to the inner court, the elite students, or even the holy disciples. Therefore, even though Chu Yang had caused a huge commotion by using the space-time passage as an excuse, and most of the people in the inner yard knew about him, and even showed up to see Chu Yang, it didn't mean that they recognized Chu Yang, and they wouldn't waste so much energy on him. Even if there were, it was only a small minority. At that time, the entire Sky Academy was shaken. Not only did the inner courtyard disciples appear, but even the elite disciples and even the holy disciples appeared. However, Chu Yang was so arrogant, so which inner courtyard disciple or elite disciple made a move? None. Xiao Chang'e, Xiong Longxiang, and the others were all outer court students. In particular, Chu Yang was just a wild dog. The inner court students looked down on the outer court students, so why would they care about Chu Yang? No matter how big a commotion Chu Yang made, he was just a dog barking fiercely to them. Therefore, Chu Yang was probably the only one in the Sky Academy who had been noticed and targeted by the top figures of the inner yard as soon as he entered the inner yard. Given Chen Burang's cultivation, he could have become an elite student long ago. Chu Yang became more and more annoyed. He thought that he had already intimidated everyone in the Sky Academy. Everyone in the Sky Academy said that he was a big shot and even feared him a lot. However, it seemed that this was not the case. Whoosh, whoosh. A few more figures flew out from the depths of the inner court. Their auras were extremely powerful, and they were at least at the 7th or 8th level of the rebirth stage. There was a woman among them. She was tall and slim, and her face was extremely beautiful. She had long, ice-blue hair, and a pair of beautiful eyes that were like two ice-blue ice pearls. From afar, she looked like a 10,000-year-old iceberg, and the cold air she emitted made people's hearts palpitate. Innately cold, incomparably beautiful, her appearance instantly made people feel as if they were in the middle of winter. Her beautiful eyes flickered, and her ice-blue eyes, which were like ice pearls, fell on Chu Yang. On the left side of the woman was a burly figure, whose body was emitting a pale yellow light. That kind of yellow light immediately reminded people of dead leaves and dead trees. His whole body seemed to be like a huge dead tree, but faintly, he gave people an extremely dangerous feeling. There was also a slender figure. It was a young man in a purple robe. He stood in the air with his hands behind his back and glanced around. A unique aura spread out. It was very arrogant, but obviously it was also very powerful. You are Chu Yang. In addition to these three people, other voices sounded at about the same time. Chapter 1488. Not to mention Chen Burang, there were many others who came one after another. Chu Yang instantly felt as if someone had knocked over his sumptuous breakfast. His mood suddenly turned cloudy, followed by the rumbling of thunder. A storm was about to come. His mood instantly became extremely bad. He had done so many things, but the result was so little. This group of people seemed to want to take him down a notch or something. Anyway, they just wanted to make things difficult for him. Master, that woman is called Shi Jinghan. Rumor has it that she has the Ice Phoenix martial spirit. Her origin is not very clear, but she seems to be from the Central State. She had a conflict with Shangguanlan. Xiong Longxiang and Xia Wanjin's divine soul spread the news almost at the same time. As soon as they said it, Chu Yang understood why this woman was hostile to him. The one who looks like a withered tree is called Mu Zizhen. He has the withered glory martial spirit of Buddhism. 2 trees, one withered and one flourished. He is a good friend of the little monk Fa Zhao. Chu Yang now had a general understanding of why Mu Zizhen had come here. He had said that little Zen master Fa Zhao was going to watch with folded arms. So, Mu Zizhen naturally came to see what kind of virtue he had. The young man in purple is called Sui Zian. He comes from the Yu state, which is adjacent to the East state. His origin is somewhat mysterious, but his cultivation is very high. Yu state? What the fuck? Chu Yang cursed in his heart. Son of a bitch, has this young master reached the level of being the enemy of the entire heavenly spirit world? As for the others, Chu Yang's face became more and more ugly after listening to Xia Wanjin and Xiong Longxiang's explanation. Excluding Chun Burang, there were at least 3 people from the central state. In the blink of an eye, Xia Wanjin and Xiong Longxiang's divine soul sent a message to each other. At their cultivation level, their divine soul was incomparably powerful. The matter of sending a message was completed in an instant. Ha ha! Chun Burang looked at Chu Yang mockingly and said, Chu Yang, it seems that I'm not the only one interested in you. Chu Yang picked his ears, tilted his head and smiled. Why don't you all call me a wild dog? You're making me feel uncomfortable? Chun Burang suddenly fell silent. Chu Yang smiled again. So you guys aren't deaf and mute. Then you should know the consequences of provoking me. Boom. A commotion instantly broke out amongst the group of new students. However, it only lasted for a moment before they calmed down. They had all seen how arrogant Chu Yang was. He had directly challenged a saint. As for Chun Burang and the others, why would he not dare to do so? Heh, I'm just here to take a look at how the fellow who wants me to go to hell looks like, Mu Zizhen said with a smile. What are you laughing at? Chu Yang glared at him. Can't you change the time? You're so aggressive. You're making me feel like I'm going to see the king of hell tonight. He pointed at Mu Zizhen and said, Buddha says that you are guilty. Many of the new students were no longer surprised by Chu Yang's behavior. This was still considered proper behavior. Mu Zizhen was still smiling. Then, he moved and flew to Chu Yang's side. This should be fine, right? Heh. Chu Yang smiled. Buddha says that you have great merit. Mu Zizhen had really seen Chu Yang's mouth. He immediately surrendered. You're good. I'll find a chance to beat you into a pig's head. Monk Mu, you're breaking the precepts. I'm not a monk. You have an affinity with Buddha. You're still a monk after all. It's just a matter of time. Your words are really infuriating. Mu Zizhen's eyes widened. Chu Yang cupped his fists and smiled. Thank you for the compliment. Chapter 1489. Chu Yang sneered and looked at Chun Burang. Then why don't you call me Wild Dog? Wild Dog. Chun Burang didn't get angry and spat out these 2 words indifferently. Chun Burang, you have guts, Chu Yang said coldly. Today, I don't dare to believe that you have a rebirth or heavenly palace realm existence behind you. If I don't kill you, I will be your dog. Chu Yang wanted to save face. This was one of the reasons. However, Chu Yang didn't know the exact reason, but this Chun Burang was already on his death list. Chun Burang said casually, So what if I call you Wild Dog? I didn't humiliate you like that just now because I was worried about my image. Since you want me to call you that, then I will respectfully accept your request. As for killing me, as long as you have the ability, my head will be waiting for you to take it. Chu Yang was a little angry now. He wanted nothing more than to rush up and kill Chun Burang. He couldn't hold himself back and started to act willfully. He suddenly roared at the crowd, If you don't want to die, then get out of my way. I'm going to kill this little bastard. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, people moved like shadows, especially those who had seen Chu Yang's might. They fled quickly, and the crowd disappeared. Many people stared at Chu Yang and Chen Burang from afar. Chen Burang's expression finally turned ugly. It had to be said that Chu Yang was too arrogant and domineering. The aura of a bandit was extremely thick. If there was a disagreement, he would kill with a glare. Chu Yang said to Xiao Wanjin, Xiong Longxiang, and the parrot, "You guys stay away from me. When I show my power, it will shake the heavens and earth. If you guys are not careful, you will be turned into ashes." Flap, flap, flap. The parrot instantly knew what Chu Hang was going to do. It didn't want to be struck by lightning. It immediately flew out and shouted, "Waha, Chu Hang, do well. Turn him into a beautiful Chen." Xiao Wanjin and Xiong Longxiang were speechless. They couldn't see through Chu Yang's means. It was not easy to deal with life and death realm experts. However, Chu Yang didn't do this to them before, but what was the result? The two of them immediately left. Mu Zizhen, Shi Jinghan, Sui Zian, and the others did not leave. Chu Yang said to Mu Zizhen, "For the sake of the little Zen master Fa Zhao, can you stay away when Monk Mu is watching the show? You're only at the spirit stage. So what if you have a big move?" Mu Zizhen curled her lips. "I can dodge it anyways. Are you going to scram or not?" Chu Yang was furious. He pointed at Mu Zizhen's nose and said, "You idiot, if it wasn't for little monk Fa Zhao, do you think I would care about you?" Mu Zizhen had a good temper. He shook his head and left with a bitter smile. Chu Yang looked at Shi Jinghan, Sui Zian, and the others. He smiled and said, "Everyone, I should have fulfilled my duty of informing you. Don't be unconvinced even if I die." After he finished speaking, he added, "Of course, I can beat you all up." Chu Yang's arrogance was something that many people were used to. However, Chen Burang and the others were furious. A student who had just entered the inner court and was only at the 8th spirit stage actually dared to order them around and provoke them. "You're just like this. You only know how to bluff. You don't even dare to admit to your fiancé. How much ability do you have?" Shi Jinghan suddenly spoke, causing Chen Burang to suddenly laugh. Hearing this, Chu Yang's lips curled up. He had already been sullen a few times. He didn't even dare to admit to his fiancée, and didn't even dare to tell her? What was going on? However, this wasn't his problem alone. He was worried that Shangguan Lan would be pressured, but it seemed that he couldn't hide it anymore. He didn't need to worry about it anymore. This was a good opportunity, and Shangguan Lan couldn't blame him. "Ha ha!" Chu Yang immediately laughed. "This is my personal matter. I didn't want to tell the world about my happiness. Since you want to know, then I'll tell you." Chapter 1490. Chu Yang was immensely proud of himself. His despicable voice resounded in this space, and clearly fell into everyone's ears. Countless eyes popped out in an instant, and all of them stared fixedly at Chu Yang. Lu Yunpeng and Xiao Wanjin were the most shocked. They adored Shangguan Lan and vaguely knew that Shangguan Lan seemed to have a fiancé, but they never thought that this person would be Chu Yang. How could Chu Yang and Shangguan Lan cross paths? All of a sudden, their hearts were the most complicated. No wonder Shangguan Lan didn't care about anyone. It turned out that it was because of this bastard. Their hearts were full of resentment. Ji Yinmeng was also stunned. This bastard is actually Shangguan Lan's fiancé. How is this possible? She also couldn't believe it. Shangguan Lan was firmly superior to her. It turned out that the bastard she looked down on was actually Shangguan Lan's fiancé. So, this bastard really looked down on her? Ji Yinmeng was angry, hateful, and annoyed. All kinds of emotions welled up in her heart. Especially when she thought that when this bastard Chu Yang took advantage of her, there was obviously a line that he would never cross. She felt even more upset in her heart. Bastard! She gritted her teeth. Many people suddenly heard that Chu Yang was Shangguanlan's fiancé, and their minds were all stunned. This was definitely a shocking news for them, so they all looked at Chu Yang in disbelief, and then looked at Shangguanlan. The complex expression on their faces was really indescribable. Such news, for them, was simply like a toad eating swan meat, a fairy flower inserted in cow dung. It was heartbreaking. Lan, come over to me. Chu Yang smiled at Shangguanlan and then said confidently, I will prove that the most suitable person for you is me, and I will also prove that I am the best one. I will tell everyone in the world that your choices are never stupid, and they are never wrong. Only you have a discerning eye. There are countless flowers and plants in the world, but which one of them is as intelligent as you? You chose me at once. I am such a beloved husband. Waha! Chu Yang definitely had the face of a villain intoxicated by success, which was extremely hateful. Shangguanlan's face instantly turned red. She wished she could find a crack on the ground and hide in it. How could it be like this? Although she was very shy, she didn't hesitate at all under such circumstances. She flew straight towards Chu Yang and landed beside him. Chu Yang really wanted to hold her little hand, but he was afraid that she would be embarrassed, so he did not do so. He just said to the audience in an incomparably flamboyant manner, Everyone, I am here to officially inform you that this is true. Then, he patted his chest and said, I will also be responsible for her future happiness. As long as I am alive, she must be safe and sound. Whoever is envious, jealous, or unhappy, can come at me now. It was true! The audience was dead silent and their jaws dropped. The first goddess of the Sky Academy was actually the fiancée of the wild dog. But how could this be doubted? Shangguanlan's behavior was the best proof. However, all of this was shattered in an instant. Chu Yang looked at Shi Jinghan and said to Shangguanlan, My Lan, I say, you should give this girl a way out. How can you make her so ugly? Look, she's even starting to hate me, your husband. My wife, don't be so ruthless, and we will meet again in the future. Who was he talking about? Chapter 1491. Ah! While everyone was speechless, Chu Yang screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Lan, be gentle. I was wrong, okay? Pinching was a natural ability for women. It didn't need to be learned. Shangguanlan gritted her teeth and couldn't help but secretly pinch Chu Yang's waist. Hearing Chu Yang scream, she immediately let go with a red face. Chu Yang and Shangguanlan were so intimate that the calmness on Chen Burang's face disappeared. His eyes were very malicious, and his expression was extremely cold. Another person who was particularly upset was Ji Yinmeng. The relationship between Chu Yang and Shangguanlan was far beyond her imagination. At least, if she were Shangguanlan, she would have run away just now. How could she be like Shangguanlan, obedient to Chu Yang? She had a great sense of crisis. Humph! Shi Jinghan coldly snorted. She sneered at Shangguanlan and said, Shangguanlan, you actually chose such a shameless person as your husband? What a joke! Before Chu Yang could speak, Shangguanlan said coldly, How I choose is not something you can judge. You'd better pay attention to your identity and the tone of your voice. I can tolerate you in the past, but I'm afraid I can't today. Shangguanlan's voice was very pleasant, but very domineering. You! Shi Jinghan was furious, even exasperated, but she didn't dare to be presumptuous. Back off! Shangguanlan spat out 2 words. Shi Jinghan struggled for a moment and retreated far away. Then, she looked at Sui Zian and said, If you don't want to die, you can leave too. Sui Zian didn't say a word from beginning to end, but when he heard such a sentence, his whole body trembled. His eyes were filled with despair, as if he couldn't believe that Shangguanlan would say such heartless words. However, he just glanced at Shangguanlan and immediately retreated. Sui Zian also knew Shangguanlan when he was young, But Shangguanlan only stayed in his house for a short time, and then left. When he saw Shangguanlan again, Sui Zi and was stunned and could not extricate himself. Therefore, when Shangguanlan saw that he was in love with her, she told him that they were engaged. This was like a bolt from the blue to him. Today, not only did he want to see what the person who made Shangguanlan miss looked like, but he also wanted to see what was so great about him. However, Shangguanlan did not allow it and even said such harsh words to him. In other people's eyes, it didn't matter whether these were harsh words or not. However, in Sui Zian's eyes, these harsh words were enough. Chen Burang, do you want to spar with me? Boom. Shangguanlan released her aura. Suddenly, a breath of life rushed out of her body and formed the shape of a phoenix. Her aura instantly spread out, causing everyone to be shocked. It was as if they were looking at a young girl who had suddenly become a supreme empress. The change in Shangguanlan's temperament was truly shocking. Life and death realm, life and death realm. Everyone was caught off guard by the magnificent change. Everyone was shocked. Most people only thought that Shangguanlan's cultivation was only at the soul amalgamation realm. Who would have thought that Shangguanlan's cultivation was actually so high? It was simply unbelievable. Chu Yang was also very surprised. He was almost certain that Shangguanlan had made a major breakthrough in the severed world. Previously, although Shangguanlan had hidden her cultivation, she was definitely not at the life realm. When Shangguanlan's cold voice entered his ears, Chen Burang's heart fiercely twitched and his face burned. It was as if he had been ruthlessly slapped in the face. His heart was filled with resentment and frustration. This woman, for the sake of a mere wild dog, had publicly slapped him in the face. Chapter 1492. Wild Dog, do you want a woman to stand up for you and hide behind a woman? Just now, all the words you swore were all bullshit. Chen Burang bypassed Shangguanlan and pointed the spearhead at Chu Yang. Any man would not be able to stand being provoked like this. Even if the wild dog held back, that would be fine, or it would be for the best. Such a man would appear to be too spineless, too irresponsible. Hee hee. Chu Yang sneered in his heart and did not answer immediately. He knelt down to Shangguanlan. My empress is mighty, waha! Shangguanlan's eyes darkened. She wanted to kick him to death. How could he do this in front of so many people? Waha, the empress is mighty. As soon as the parrot laughed strangely, Chu Yang reprimanded it. Little bitch, what are you doing? Don't you know that I'm avoiding the topic just now? If you join in, the topic will really be completely changed. How can Hero Chen Burang continue to be embarrassed? The parrot did not expect this. It widened its eyes and then looked at Chen Burang. Waha, you're so awesome. Why did you immediately stop? This divine bird is laughing to death. It forced itself to laugh at Chen Burang, which was not very lethal. Chu Yang stood up from the ground and said directly, Hero Chen, this dog is a gigolo, a professional sponger. So what if you're envious and jealous? If you have the ability, you can also marry a capable wife. We're both spongers. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing to see two wives fighting endlessly? You actually fell for such a man? Chen Burang directly ridiculed Shangguanlan, but there was no need for Shangguanlan to refute. Chu Yang said with a smile, She likes me, which proves how bad and how much of a failure you are. For someone like you to hurriedly attack me like this, I can tell at a glance that you don't have any standards. You look like you're rotten on the inside, but I'm rotten on the outside. The difference is like heaven and earth. How laughable. You're so shameless, yet you still have the nerve to flatter yourself. You've really broadened my horizons. Chen Burang laughed coldly. People like you can be found everywhere in the world. You're so lowly that your stench is unbearable. Chu Yang crossed his arms and listened attentively. As soon as Chen Burang paused, he immediately said, Hey handsome Chen, please continue your criticism. Do you think I'll lose a piece of meat? Many people were amused. That bastard Chu Yang wasn't someone who could be dealt with in a normal way. Now, he was in for a beating. They were secretly delighted. Previously, they had also found it inconceivable. How could there be such a plaything like Chu Yang in this world? He was laughed at until his teeth fell out, but he was not ashamed of it. Instead, he was proud of it. All of your ridicule and abuse had all disappeared into thin air. Now, Chen Burang and the other geniuses of the inner yard began to feel Chu Yang's elegance. They were sure that they were caught off guard. Chen Burang narrowed his eyes. Wild dog, didn't you just say you were going to kill me? Lan, go beat Hero Chen into a dead hero. Chu Yang directly ordered Shangguan Lan, which made Shangguan Lan roll her eyes. She had never seen such a shameless person. How could he be so self-righteous, proud, and smug? You, Chen Burang was finally angered. When Shangguan Lan made a move, he could only run like a rat. Chu Yang was extremely happy. He had been influenced by the saying, "Is face that important? Can it be eaten?" If he wasn't careful, he could even be insulted. I'm living off a woman. What can you do about it? I'm using my Lan as a shield. What can you do about it? Chu Yang said casually, showing his white teeth. He looked at Chen Burang with a smile. It was obvious that he was provoking Chen Burang. If Chen Burang had the guts, come and beat him until he cried. Then you can be a coward for the rest of your life. Chen Burang didn't intend to leave, but Chu Yang directly said, "Sixth on the heaven list, take care. I won't send you off." Chapter 1493. Shangguan Lan, is this what your fiancé is like? Let me kill him, and you'll serve me. A cold snort was suddenly emitted from outside the arena. It suddenly exploded in everyone's hearts, causing everyone to be abruptly startled. Before they could look over, a wave of fragrant wind instantly assaulted them, following which, a chirping voice was also transmitted into their ears. When they looked over again, they saw a young man with a devilish face, surrounded by 7,000 or 8,000 charming women, walking out of the field. The rest of the women were trying their best to stick to him and stick to him all the time. There were 2 women who were wrapped around his legs like 2 snakes. Their faces were stuck to his lower abdomen as they licked him incessantly. There was another woman who was carried on his back like a bundle. Her legs were wrapped around his chest as if she was performing acrobatic. There was a black gold line in the middle of the young man's forehead, which was particularly eye-catching. He hugged the women on his left and right, and his big hands played with the women in his arms in front of everyone, completely ignoring them. Who is this? All the people present could not help looking at the young man, feeling that he was even weirder than Chu Yang. If you want to have fun, do you have to go to this extent? Will you die if you leave the women for a while? In addition, everyone also found that although these women's behavior was unbearable, their clothes were absolutely not revealing. The beauty of their bodies was well hidden, and the people present could not take advantage of them at all. Hiss, do you really know how to have fun? Chu Yang looked at the young man and could not help but marvel in his heart. He had done it to the extreme. However, as soon as he arrived, Chu Yang found that Shangguan Lan's aura suddenly became cold, and a burst of anger gushed out. Later, he found that Ji Yinmeng was extremely disgusted with the young man. Her face became extremely ugly, and she could not help but take a step back. Chen Burang's pupils shrank. This thing seems to be not simple. Chu Yang's heart sank. Master, this is young Master Long. No one knows his origin, but he is extremely strong, and he loves women. In the Sky Academy, he has slept with no less than 100 girls. Those who refused to submit were almost all killed by him. Xia Wanjin's voice rang out. In addition, any woman who was favored by him would be killed immediately if they dared to show even the slightest bit of their beauty or flirtatiousness to other men. Thus, I've heard that many people have died at his hand. This is a pervert. He's extremely possessive. When Chu Yang heard this, he roughly understood what was going on. What surprised him the most was that he couldn't see Long Xiaojun's cultivation base. When Long Xiaojun arrived, he immediately smiled evilly at Shangguanlan. Shangguanlan, serve me now, and you still have a chance. Do you understand? After saying that, he looked at Shi Jinghan again. I'll give you 3 days. If you don't sleep with me, I'll go find you. Don't say that I'm rough then. After that, his target became Ji Yinmeng. Suddenly, he sneered. I heard that you've been defiled. Let me defile you, and then I'll kill you. Otherwise, I'll make you beg for death. The whole place fell into a dead silence. In an instant, they felt that Chu Yang's overbearingness was nothing but bullshit. Chu Yang's overbearingness was not something that could be called overbearingness if you didn't provoke him. Long Xiaojun was completely different. He could do whatever he wanted, and if you didn't submit, you would die. He was even more powerful than the emperor. That thing, please pay attention to the occasion when you're disgusted. Suddenly, a cold voice rang out. Everyone was shocked and immediately looked over. It was Chu Yang. Chu Yang really couldn't stand it. Chapter 1494. Oh! Long Xiaojun hadn't even looked at Chu Yang when he arrived. Now, he looked at Chu Yang like a lion awakening from its slumber. His body emitted a powerful aura that covered the sky. Immediately, the smell of blood entered everyone's nostrils. This smell was incomparably shocking. It even pierced into every thought of his soul. Even someone like Chen Burang couldn't help but tremble. Needless to say, the others all realized how terrifying Long Xiaojun was. Is he half a step into the saint realm? Chu Yang's pupils slightly shrank. This Long Xiaojun was indeed rude and overbearing. But his strength was also absolutely rude and overbearing. You're strong, but I promise you'll regret it if you try to be arrogant in front of me. Chu Yang no longer had the mischievous smile he had at the beginning. He said in a heavy voice. He wasn't joking. Long Xiaojun's cultivation level was high, but he wasn't ready to become a saint. If he triggered the lightning punishment, Long Xiaojun would definitely die. You've got guts. If I kill you directly, you'll die too easily. I have to think about how to make you suffer. As Long Xiaojun spoke, his mind flickered and the aura he had released was withdrawn back into his body at an extremely fast speed. Many people felt as if space was about to collapse. Their souls were about to be sucked out and swallowed into Long Xiaojun's body. Of course, Chu Yang could also feel this kind of horror. Just by releasing and withdrawing his aura in his spiritual world, there was a feeling that space was about to collapse. The strength of the divine soul martial path. It was evident. You don't seem to understand human language. Chu Yang wasn't afraid. You bastard, how dare you molest my woman in front of me? You can't be forgiven. Long Xiaojun, someone actually dares to talk to you like that. You didn't even kill him on the spot. You want me to submit to you? Shi Jinghan suddenly sneered. Don't even think about it. This woman was vicious. She wanted to use someone else to do her dirty work. However, Chu Yang was interested in this, so he did not say anything. He would deal with her later. Long Xiaojun smirked at Shi Jinghan and said coldly, I don't need you to teach me how to do things. It's your honor to be my woman. Don't be so shameless. Also, you said that you want him to die. Just ask me directly. Since when did my woman need to beat around the bush? After Long Xiaojun finished lecturing Shi Jinghan, he looked coldly at Chu Yang. What should I call you? Wild dog. If I say I want you to live a life worse than death, you will. Now kneel over here and be my dog. When I am happy, I may let you die a quick death. Do you want to compete in arrogance? Chu Yang sneered and said, Arrogance. In this world, I'm the only one who is worthy. Who do you think you are? When your grandfather was acting crazy, where were you? Haha. Long Xiaojun couldn't help but laugh. There's actually someone who dares to speak to me like this. I haven't seen someone like you for many years. I should treat you like a dog. However, your cultivation is only at the 8th level of the spirit stage. It's a bit low. You're affecting my face. You won't understand even if I explain it to you. Chu Yang said, Do you think that you're invincible just because you're half a step into the saint stage? I'll let you see what I'm capable of. He pointed at the woman in Long Xiaojuan's arms and secretly used a space-time technique. He said to her, Come here. Chapter 1495. Master. Whoosh. When the woman's sweet voice entered his ears, Long Xiaojuan's expression changed drastically. Rumble. His body rumbled like endless thunderstorms. Then, the tendons and veins in his body cracked like the strings of a heavenly zither being plucked. The sound of a surging river also came out of his body like a flash flood. An intense, masculine blood chi gushed out from the top of his head like a whale spraying water. It seemed to distort the void. Ah! A series of blood-curdling screams were heard. The women beside him were all blown away. Their bodies exploded, and they turned into corpses in an instant. The 2 women who were wrapped around his legs and licking his lower abdomen, as well as the woman who was carried on his back like a bag, exploded into blood mist. Not even their bones were left behind. Shangguanlan and Ji Yinming's faces suddenly changed. With a bang, Shi Jinghan fell from midair like a bird with broken wings. Thump! Thump! Chen Burang retreated a few steps in the air. His face turned deathly pale. The crowd in the distance felt as if the heavens were enraged, and they couldn't help but tremble. At this moment, many people were so terrified that they did not even dare to look at Long Xiaojun. Chu Yang's actions had definitely touched Long Xiaojuan's reverse scale. Of course, Chu Yang knew this. 1. Suddenly, Long Xiaojun stared at Chu Yang like a giant beast. His eyes became bloodshot in an instant. Then, they turned into 2 balls of blood, and emitted traces of blood-red light. Even someone with a high cultivation base would feel a chill run down their spine when they saw his pair of blood-red eyes. No one had expected Long Xiaojun to be so powerful and terrifying when he was angry. Dragons have reverse scales, those who touch them will die. After the transformation, Long Xiaojun pointed his finger at Chu Yang and let out a roar like a lion. In an instant, everyone's mind was buzzing, and their ears were echoing with these words. Wild dog, how dare you touch my woman? No one dares to do that. No one dares to have designs on my woman. Today you actually did something unforgivable. Your death is inevitable. I will slaughter your entire family and exterminate 10 generations of your family. Long Xiaojuan's tone was filled with intense resentment, endless malevolence, and incomparable viciousness. Ha ha! Chu Yang laughed out loud. You bastard, when you were flirting with me and even threatening my woman, did you ever think about my feelings? I can't take it anymore. What kind of dog is this? How dare you act so fierce in front of me? Do you really think that I can't kill you? Chu Yang immediately broke through to the 9th level of the spirit stage. In an instant, the 7 worlds within his body lit up like 7 suns. It was as if the 7 stars had formed a line and shot a beam of light into his forehead. Boom! Boom! It was as if numerous stars had fallen into the ocean. The air around him was like seawater, forming a shocking tsunami that soared into the sky and surged in all directions. The void hummed, and it was as if the seawater had turned into a tsunami. The scene was incomparably shocking, and it was shocking to the eyes. Lightning calamity! Long Xiaojun was extremely sharp. He immediately knew what the wild dog was going to do. His expression changed, and the malevolence on his face turned into horror. His blood-red eyes trembled as he roared, Wild dog, I can kill you before you trigger the lightning calamity. You can give it a try. Chu Yang's figure disappeared into thin air. Shortly after, Shangguanlan also disappeared. She had been stored in his interspatial ring. The parrot and the others were the same. In an instant, everyone related to Chu Yang had disappeared. He was already prepared and had a thorough plan. If I can't kill your friends, then I'll slaughter everyone here. Chapter 1496. What did you just call me, Long Xiaojun? Hearing Long Xiaojun's threat, Long Xiaojun's expression changed again. Wild dog! Long Xiaojun had just called Chu Yang a wild dog. Now he was threatening Chu Yang with the lives of people from the eastern wilderness. Wasn't that ridiculous? Wild dog killed so many students from the Sky Academy in the outer yard assessment. Maybe the more I kill, the happier the wild dog will be. As soon as Long Xiaojun thought of this, laughter was heard. Ha ha! The mocking laughter made the students from the Sky Academy feel their scalps tingle. They were terrified because they might become the victims of the fight between the two. As for Long Xiaojun, the laughter seemed to be encouraging Chu Yang. He said, kill quickly. I won't be happy if you don't kill. If you can kill everyone in the East Continent, I'll build a monument for you. Sure enough, Xia Wanjin and Xiong Longxiang were not surprised by the current situation. Just like before, they thought they were foolproof, but the result was always the opposite of what they had imagined. Therefore, they could understand Long Xiaojun's feelings. However, although they were all in the same boat, they were just here to watch the fun. Therefore, they were in a different mood. They were extremely happy. They recognized Chu Yang as their master, so they would be criticized by many people. But in the future, no one would say anything. After all, even Long Xiaojun was defeated. Wild dog, do you really think I can't find you? When I find you, I'll tear you apart. Long Xiaojun roared. His evil face became even more ferocious. Ha ha! Chu Yang could only chuckle mockingly at this moment. Finding his location? Dream on. He had been worried about this before. But after Ice Kuan spoke, he was not worried at all. Ice Kuan was a real sage. Although it was only a remnant soul, it was enough to deal with Long Xiaojun, who was only half a step into the saint realm. Long Xiaojun could never compare to a real saint. Very soon, Long Xiaojun's expression changed. Even though his strength was much higher than Chu Yang's, he had nowhere to vent his strength. Hero Long, keep roaring. If you don't roar, it won't be good for the atmosphere. Chu Yang began to slap him in the face. So what if you're half a step into the saint plane? You're still not a saint. Long Xiaojun did not respond to such humiliation. Instead, he released his terrifying spiritual power, which buzzed unceasingly in the void. It was clearly visible that his spiritual power had spread out in all directions, and was searching inch by inch. However, even so, he could not find Chu Yang. Impossible, how is this possible? Chen Bureng shuddered. He had the same idea as Long Xiaojun, but he couldn't accept the result. Such a method didn't work at all. What? Great swordsman Chen, are you scared now? With his keen senses, Chu Yang immediately sensed Chen Bureng's shock. His voice came from the void, clearly informing Long Xiaojun that he was within the range of Long Xiaojun's search. However, what can you do, Long Xiaojun? Long Xiaojun, aren't you arrogant? Why don't you find someone? Great swordsman Chen, this is supposed to teach you how to be a man. But great swordsman Long suffered for your sake. Don't you think it's appropriate for you to express your gratitude to him? Chen Bureng was mocked in front of everyone. His handsome face seemed to be covered by a layer of dark clouds, but he didn't dare to say a word. Chapter 1497. Buzz. Chen Bureng's mind exploded. After Chu Yang dragged Long Xiaojun into the Thunder Tribulation, he could come to him at any time and drag him into the Thunder Tribulation as well. He was not ready to break through to the next realm. If he did, the consequences would be unimaginable once he was dragged into the Thunder Tribulation. Thank you very much, Hero Long. Chen Bureng swallowed the humiliation and compromise. Everyone who heard this could not help but be surprised. He compromised just like that? Even someone as powerful as Chen Burang had to lower his noble head in front of Chu Yang. Long Xiaojun was so angry that he almost blacked out. Then he sneered, "Wild dog, I can't find you. Can't I leave? The only reason I haven't left yet is because I want to slaughter a dog like you." His speed was not something that Wild Dog could catch up with. That was what he was counting on. Immediately, Chen Burang's heart leaped with joy. He felt that his compromise just now was extremely foolish. He coldly said, "Wild Dog, I, Chen Burang, will remember what you've done today. I will return it 100 times over." Ha ha! Chu Yang laughed sarcastically again. "Hero Long, why don't you try to escape? What's the fun if you don't run?" Speed? How could Chu Yang's speed be inferior to anyone? Long Xiaojun had mastered the space-time secret skill recently. Not to mention the Ice Leviathan, he could not catch up with the Flood Dragon Martial Soul, which had just turned into the Frost Space-Time Dragon. Humph! Although it's a little embarrassing, I'll show you what speed is. Long Xiaojun said in a muffled voice, "Wild Dog, all schemes and tricks are nothing in front of real strength." Swoosh! Long Xiaojun did not move, but his figure flashed and disappeared in an instant. No one knew where he had gone, nor did they know which direction he had fled in. They didn't even know how he had left. The students of the Sky Academy couldn't help but gasp at the same time. What an amazing speed! What a terrifying speed! How can he catch up with him? Wild Dog, no matter how strong you are, what's the use? Amidst the exclamations of the crowd, a loud laugh came from the south. "Haha, Wild Dog, I'm telling the truth." Hee hee. Chu Yang's mocking laughter also came from there. Although it was very soft, everyone heard it. How is this possible? How is this possible? Long Xiaojun was so fast that he couldn't even see how he left. How could he not shake off Chu Yang? Just how terrifying was Chu Yang's speed? Shwa! Chen Burang's expression suddenly changed. Once again, he thought that his plan had succeeded. He thought that he had a foolproof plan, but the result was the same again. "Wild Dog, you!" Long Xiaojun was completely flustered. He probably had the same thoughts as Chen Burang. "Hero Long, why don't you continue to show me your arrogance?" Chu Yang sneered. "You actually dare to sell your arrogance in front of me, what are you? The word, arrogance, is simply a disgrace to you, Hero Long." Chu Yang was really domineering to reprimand Long Xiaojun like this. Everyone was speechless. Long Xiaojun was so arrogant and powerful before, but he was still suppressed by Chu Yang and didn't have the slightest bit of temper. Chu Yang's mocking voice soon sounded again. "You rely on your cultivation to bully the weak. You call that arrogance? You punch a 3-year-old child and kick a century-old man, and you're still complacent and call yourself arrogant. You don't deserve it, bah." Long Xiaojun was speechless and blushed. Rumble! Thunder rumbled. In the direction where Long Xiaojun was, people could clearly see that the thunder cloud was rapidly forming. The thunder tribulation was about to fall. Chapter 1498. Enough. How long are you going to make trouble? Along with the voice, a very elegant old man appeared. Immediately, the people present cheered. "Saint Master, it's Saint Master, the Saint Master has appeared. It's great that the Saint Master has appeared. In this way, we don't have to worry about being involved. The Saint Master has appeared. Does the Wild Dog still dare to be arrogant?" Boom! The thunder turned the hubbub into a dead silence. Chu Yang didn't answer, but the thunder became more frequent and louder. "Chu Yang, how dare you?" The Saint Master was furious, but Chu Yang didn't respond at all. The rumbling thunder made the world seem even more silent. "Chu Yang, don't you even take me seriously?" The Saint Master's angry voice became extremely cold, and every word was as cold as winter. Chu Yang was hiding in the void. Hearing the cold voice, he immediately sneered. The Saint Master only came out at this time. What did he do just now? He finally said, "Here along, I'll teach you how to be arrogant today." After that, he directly ridiculed the Saint Master. "Old dog, what do you have that deserves my attention? Is it your character or your virtue? Why don't you tell me about it so that I'll take you seriously?" Old dog! Chu Yang actually called the Saint Master an old dog directly? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. Even the saint didn't dare to do this to the students of the Sky Academy. The Saint Master trembled with anger. In front of the students of the Sky Academy, Chu Yang dared to provoke His Majesty. However, he couldn't do anything at all. He was even shocked to find that it was impossible for him, who was proficient in spatial skills, to determine Chu Yang's position. When the Thunder Tribulation came, he could naturally determine Chu Yang's position, but it was too late at that time. "Chu Yang, what do you want?" The Saint Master could only hold back and negotiate with Chu Yang. "Ha ha!" Chu Yang laughed again. "Old dog, what do I want? I want to ask you, what do you want?" The sacred expert didn't say anything. His brows furrowed, discovering that this wild dog was incomparably difficult to deal with. Chu Yang did not remain silent, but continued to interrogate. "Old dog, where were you when I was being humiliated by Hero Long? Swordsman Long, where were you when you said that you wanted me to beg for death? When I was about to kill someone, you came out, he said in an incomparably vicious tone. "Old dog, are you planning to go against me? Or should I say that I'm easier to bully? Now you actually have the face to ask me what I want. Do you still have the face to ask?" The students of the Sky Academy were shocked again. "That's right. You didn't say anything before. Why do you say something now? However, without skill, what could you do when the other party was like this? You couldn't even let out a fart, so how could you be like Chu Yang, questioning the sacred expert, smacking the sacred expert's face until he was speechless? Have you thought about the consequences of killing him?" The Sage Master suddenly said softly, "Chu Yang, I'm doing this for your own good." "Ha ha!" Chu Yang laughed loudly as if he had heard a great joke. "Old dog, you're really shameless." Then, he said to everyone in the Sky Academy, "Which one of you bastards dares to say that I'm shameless in the future? Grandpa Chu will be angry with you." "Chu Yang, don't let your emotions affect your decisions." The sacred expert spoke again. Chu Yang sneered even more in his heart. Did the sacred expert really take him as a 3-year-old child? "Ha ha!" He laughed loudly again. "Old dog, it seems that you really think that I'm easier to bully. You actually bullied my intelligence. I admire your courage, ha ha." Chapter 1499. Ha ha! Chu Yang laughed even louder. "Kill me and you'll be fine. Is this your logic? Old dog, you dare to threaten me? I'll kill you too." "I'm just speaking the truth." The Sage Master panicked. If he was caught in the lightning tribulation, he might not be able to protect himself. "I'm also speaking the truth." Chu Yang didn't laugh again. Long Xiaojun should have a shocking identity, but so what? If he didn't kill Long Xiaojun today, Long Xiaojun would come to kill him the next day. How could he not kill him? What was there to be afraid of? Rumble. The thunder cloud grew thicker, and the thunder became louder. Actually, Chu Yang could summon the lightning tribulation with just a thought. It was just that he didn't want to expose his identity as Eastern Wilderness 002 so directly. If they could be 100% sure that he was Eastern Wilderness 002, that would be their ability. Even so, they had to put in a lot of effort. Chu Yang was willing to see them work hard. The wild dog was stubborn. The Sage Master panicked. "Chu Yang, if you kill Long Xiaojun, not only will you die, your friends and family, even Sima Jian will die." Chu Yang laughed angrily. "Old dog, is this the time to worry about others? You can't even take care of yourself, but you still dare to bark at me and threaten me. You really don't know how to write the word death. Everyone was scared out of their wit. Chu Yang was actually going to kill the Sage Master. Crazy, he was really crazy. Just as Chu Yang said, he wanted to teach Long Xiaojun how to be crazy. Bullying the weak wasn't a skill. Bullying the strong was a skill. In front of an expert like the sacred expert, acting recklessly and without any misgivings, doing as one pleased, this was madness, this was true madness. Rumble. The Sage Master was at his wits' end. He quickly retreated amidst another thunder. Long Xiaojun, who had high hopes for the Sage Master, felt his heart skip a beat. He also began to flee frantically. The sound of air being torn apart rang out, accompanied by the sound of sonic booms and thunder. Run. That's what makes it interesting. That's how a cat plays with a mouse. Chu Yang said with a mocking smile. Looking at you running around like a mouse in fear, I finally know how a cat feels. This is really interesting. Long Xiaojun kept flying towards the Sage Master. His intention was clear. If you don't have the ability to save me, then you'll die too. The Sage Master's expression was incomparably ugly, and he was so angry that he was trembling. In the Sky Academy, every time he showed up, he would be greeted with awe and admiration. However, this time, he was like a mouse, fleeing frantically and trying to get away from him. He couldn't help but recall the situation in the Seven Wheels demonic domain. However, this time, he was in an even more sorry state than he was in the Seven Wheels demonic domain. He was even more disgraceful. Haha. Chu Yang wasn't in a hurry to trigger the thunder punishment, because it was too interesting to chase the two of them like this. He even laughed loudly, and his voice resounded in the thunder. Hero Long, do you know what it means to be arrogant? In order to teach you what it means to be arrogant, I've shown you enough, haven't I? The scene really turned into a cat playing with a mouse. Who would have thought that it would end up like this? The Sage Master appeared, but it was useless. He was even dragged into it and couldn't even protect himself. In the space ring, Xia Wanjin, Xiong Longxiang, and Lu Yunpeng saw and heard everything. They saw the awe-inspiring Long Xiaojun and the sanctimonious Sage Master running around like headless flies. It was really a bit messy. It turned out that Chu Yang, this bastard, their master, didn't even use his trump card to deal with them. They even realized that Chu Yang could have triggered the thunder punishment long ago, but he didn't do it in order to tease Long Xiaojun and the Sage Master. Miserable, really miserable, even more miserable than them. Brother Yang, let him go this time. Suddenly, Shangguanlan's voice came from the space ring into Chu Yang's ears, and also into everyone's ears. Shangguanlan. It was an extremely unexpected answer. Chapter 1500. Let Hero Long go? Chu Yang was very surprised. Shangguanlan should know how dangerous it would be if he let Long Xiaojun go. Even so, she still said so. It seemed that Long Xiaojun's background was really scary. But he was not sure. He said loudly, Lan Lan, if you don't kill a snake, it will bite. Don't be so kind. If I am killed by Hero Long, you will become a widow. Naturally, Chu Yang wanted everyone to hear it. He was also looking for a way out for himself. Otherwise, wouldn't it be very sudden and embarrassing for him to get off the stage? What widow? Shangguanlan couldn't help but want to spit at Chu Yang. She was not officially married to Chu Yang yet. Brother Yang, you don't have to worry. As Long Xiaojun agrees, there will be no problem. What's going on? Is Long Xiaojun very trustworthy? Chu Yang was a little confused. My Lan Lan, can you be more serious? It's not good to joke about your husband's life. Especially with my bad temper, I won't be happy if I don't kill Hero Long at this time. He was still talking to her. Shangguanlan said angrily, Brother Yang, are you going to listen to me? Yes, yes. Chu Yang raised his little white flag. I am the best husband in the world. How can I not listen to my wife? Shangguanlan had her reasons, but he was very unhappy. He poked Long Xiaojun and shouted, "I say, Long Xiaojun, are you deaf? I have never seen such a stupid person like you. Don't you know how to play along? Let me tell you, don't give me a chance to turn against you. Then, even the gods can't save you. I will let bygones be bygones." Long Xiaojun gritted his teeth and said, "I will definitely make trouble for you." "What do you mean bygones be bygones?" Chu Yang shouted, "I will let bygones be bygones." "You are asking me to let bygones be bygones. Are you stupid?" Long Xiaojun was trembling. He gritted his teeth and said, "I made a mistake today. If I can save my life, I will not do anything bad to you." "You really look stupid," Chu Yang cursed. "Is that the point? You're so disrespectful to my Lanlan and Miss G. Shouldn't you say something?" "My Lanlan, Miss G." In comparison, Ji Yinmeng suddenly felt a little heartbroken. "Miss Shangguan, I'm sorry." "Miss Ji, I'm sorry." It wasn't easy for Long Xiaojun to go this far, but Chu Yang wasn't done yet. "You took advantage of my fiancé in front of me. The person you should apologize to the most is me." "Chu Yang, I'm sorry." "Hero Long, you're really something. This requires a capable person, or at the very least, someone important." Chu Yang revealed himself and said to Long Xiaojun, "However, I still have one thing to say. In the future, don't say arrogant as crazy." He was giving Long Xiaojun a chance to launch a sneak attack, a chance to change his mind. However, Long Xiaojun's teeth were gritted so hard that they were about to pop out of their sockets. He wanted nothing more than to kill Chu Yang, but he didn't do anything. Chu Yang was surprised. He muttered to himself, "It seems that Lanlan's words weren't without reason." Whoosh! His figure disappeared once again, and very soon, after a crisp sound, a blood-curdling scream resounded. Shi Jinghan was sent flying by that slap. Then, Chu Yang appeared and stepped on her chest. He coldly said, "You want to kill me. So, I want to kill you. That shouldn't be a problem, right?" He began to settle the score. Chapter 1501. In an instant, Chen Bureng's body suddenly stiffened, and all his movements stopped abruptly. He was not as fast as Chu Yang, so where could he escape to? If Chu Yang chased after him, he would not be able to escape in the end. "Brother Yang, let her go. I have no intention of killing her." Shangguanlan spoke again. Chu Yang immediately said, "Lanlan, why do I feel like you're going to pull out my teeth? You can't kill this one, you can't kill that one. You're making me look bad. You're a man. Don't you feel ashamed to kill a woman?" Shangguanlan found that Chu Yang was too murderous, but she also knew why he did this. If he didn't kill her, he would leave a lot of enemies behind. Miss Shangguan's words make sense. "You don't want to become a Buddha by killing her," Mu Zizhen said. He naturally knew the conversation between Chu Yang and the little Zen master Fa Zhao. "Monk Mu, it's none of your business." Chu Yang glared at him. "How dare you say you're not a monk?" Bang! As he spoke, he kicked Shi Jinghan away and looked at Chen Bureng. "Hero Chen, why aren't you coming over?" Chen Bureng could only follow the order. At this time, Chu Yang said to Shangguanlan, "Lanlan, can we kill this one?" "No." Shangguanlan rolled her eyes. "Our parents know his parent. Not for the sake of the monk, but for the sake of the Buddha." Chu Yang knew this would be the result. He smiled and said, "So it's because of my father-in-law and mother-in-law. This reason is valid. However, this thing must be paid a price. Hero Chen, please kneel down." Shangguanlan couldn't say anything. She had just said very clearly, but Chu Yang still refused to let go. It was useless to say anything more. "Are you sure you want to humiliate me completely?" Chen Bureng did not panic. He even looked very calm and said coldly. Chu Yang wasn't afraid of him. If he wanted to make an example out of Chen Bureng, he would make an example out of him. "I'm sure, very sure." He smiled and said, "So what if I humiliate you? You can hate me as much as you want. Please enjoy." With a bang, Chen Burang fell to his knees. The scene was deathly silent. Not a single sound could be heard. The sixth of the sky ranking, a life and death realm expert of the Central Prefecture, had actually kneeled down in such a humiliating manner. The moment Chen Burang knelt down, everyone's heart skipped a beat. Looking down at Chen Burang, Chu Yang sneered coldly in his heart, "You might be threatening me, but why should I be afraid of you? For the sake of my mother-in-law and father-in-law, I'll let you have your way this time." After that, Chu Yang warned, "Hero Chen, it won't be so easy next time. Before you seek revenge, I ask you to be careful, understand?" How overbearing! Shangguan Lan finally saw Chu Yang's strength. He was really calm when he was still, but when he moved, the mountains would crumble and the earth would split. Chen Burang stood up from the ground. His face was not distorted, ferocious, or angry. He was so calm that it was frightening. His eyes were very deep. He looked at Chu Yang and said, "I heard that before you entered the outer court, no one in the same realm was your match. Do you dare to fight with me in the same realm?" "Ha ha!" Chu Yang burst out laughing at once. Chen Burang was not irritated. He continued, "If you lose, just kneel down." "Ha ha!" Chu Yang laughed even louder. "I promise you, I can let you have a higher realm. You can choose the time and place. You're really arrogant." Chen Burang finally showed his anger. His eyes were extremely sharp. He looked at Chu Yang coldly and said, "I'll remember it." After saying this, Chen Burang directly left. His decisiveness, his desire to wash away his humiliation, made everyone know that the battle to wash away his humiliation would definitely be world-shaking. Before the competition of the 6 academies, in the Sky Academy. Chapter 1502. With this, the matter came to an end. The Saint Master and Long Xiaojun also left. After the new students of the inner court left, they began to discuss among themselves. Afterwards, they settled down and officially became students of the inner court. In the end, Chu Yang did not break through to the 9th level of the spirit stage, nor did he trigger a lightning calamity. It wasn't easy for him to break through to the 9th level of the spirit stage. Therefore, he, Xia Wanjin, and the parrot also settled down in the inner court. Chu Yang wanted to know why Long Xiaojun would never go back on his word once he agreed. Therefore, he went to find Shangguan Lan. Chu Yang arrived at Shangguan Lan's residence in the inner court. As soon as he entered, Shangguan Lan seemed to have known that he would come and seemed to have been waiting for him. When he saw Shangguan Lan again, he saw her beautiful face, tall figure, slender figure, and soft body. Her slender waist outlined the curves that were incomparably moving, and each of her slender legs was incomparably alluring. Under the fragmentary sunlight, her long hair cascaded down like the Milky Way. When she saw Chu Yang, her beautiful face couldn't help but reveal a smile. She was exceptionally beautiful, causing Chu Yang to stare blankly at her. "What are you looking at? Haven't you already seen me?" Shangguan Lan's face turned red and she couldn't help but lower her head. "It seems that I'm very lucky to have met you when I was young." Chu Yang's black eyes stared at Shangguan Lan's delicate face and sighed. "Otherwise, how difficult would it be for me to get close to you? So you only fancied my appearance." Shangguan Lan couldn't help but curl her lip. She seemed to be a little unhappy. Chu Yang couldn't help but scratch his head and smiled. "It's inevitable for men to be like this. Who told you to be so beautiful and hide my infinite feelings?" Shangguan Lan smiled lightly. She liked to see Chu Yang like this. Within her beautiful eyes, there was a gentle smile. "Okay, stop joking around. Let's talk business." Shangguan Lan withdrew her smile and said seriously, "Long Xiaojun, you don't have to worry at all. He is the son of Prince Zhong Xian and inherited the title of prince. He doesn't care about himself, but he cares a lot about his father. He will not allow anyone to ruin his father's reputation, let alone himself. Prince Zhong Xian, a member of the royal family. Chu Yang was shaken. He thought to himself, if it's the imperial family of the Central Plains, then it's really bad. Through Kong Kuang's memories, he already knew a lot about the eastern continent. The great Jin dynasty ruled the entire heavenly spirit world. Shang Guanlan couldn't help but roll her eyes. You only know to be afraid now? How is this possible? Chu Yang immediately denied. I'm just thinking about it. I think I should reevaluate this hero long. Shang Guanlan ignored him and continued. You should be worried about Chen Burang. Chen Burang is not as simple as he looks. Even I don't know his background. However, when he was at the spirit stage, he was able to kill someone at the transcendent stage. It was because of that incident that he came to the central region. Chu Yang narrowed his eyes. Chen Burang was not inferior to him, but he was able to do so because he had the power of two worlds. Besides, as far as I know, Chen Burang is not only a supreme realm practitioner, but also a divine arts practitioner. He has 3 kinds of divine arts. The strength he showed in the Sky Academy was at most 1 level. Only 1 level? Chu Yang's expression became more serious. If he used all his skills, he would definitely be able to defeat Chen Burang in the same realm. However, if he was at a lower realm, he would lose without a doubt. Brother Yang, compared to Chen Burang, you must have a weaker foundation. Therefore, before you fight with him, you need to be prepared. Shang Guanlan's pretty face also became very serious. Chu Yang couldn't help but nod. The arrogant words he said earlier had become a big problem. In addition, this was only for Chen Burang. He would definitely not only have to face Chen Burang alone. The others would not fight with him at the same realm. Therefore, his current realm was a big problem. It was not that his realm was too low, but that he had taken too big a step forward. Chapter 1503. Chu Yang smiled like a flower in front of Shang Guanlan, but he still felt a lot of pressure in his heart. After thinking for a while, he decided not to stay in the Sky Courtyard, but returned to Sima Jian's place. On the way back, an idea was forming in his mind. But he had to confirm something first, and there was only one thing that could answer his question. Kuan, if I enter the God's world through the space-time passage at the seal, is it possible? Chu Yang wanted to enter the various divine realms to gain experience and perfect the martial arts system of the various divine realms. If he didn't enter the God's world, it would be impossible. If others knew such an idea, they would definitely think it was a crazy idea. People from the God's world would be labeled as extraterrestrial demons if they entered the heavenly spirit world, and it was the same when people from the heavenly spirit world entered the God's world. Therefore, not to mention other things, just this point alone made Chu Yang's idea a little crazy. However, this was just the beginning, and even crazier things were yet to come. Master, if you want to enter the God's world, it's not a problem at all. Bing Kuan smiled. Only when you enter the world of the gods can the 2 worlds in your body reach a true balance. If I enter the God's world through the space-time passage, won't there be enemies on the other side? The space-time passage was sealed in the heavenly spirit world, and Sima Jian was guarding it. He thought that on the other side of the passage there would be at least someone guarding it. Bing Kuan smiled. Master, you think too much. The heavenly spirit world is in a defensive position, so the space-time passage is sealed and guarded, but the God's world is different. In addition, if someone from the heavenly spirit world enters the God's world, he will immediately become an extraterrestrial black pig. Therefore, even if someone from the heavenly spirit world enters the God's world doesn't need to care at all, and will immediately be discovered. As a result, the God's world on the other side of the space-time passage is completely empty. Extraterrestrial black pig. Chu Yang was speechless for a while. The East Continent discriminated against the Eastern Wilderness, the Central Continent discriminated against the East Continent, and the God's World discriminated against the Heavenly Spirit World. It was really interesting. However, this was the truth, and even more so the reality. In his previous life, discrimination was also omnipresent. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that the Heavenly Soul World would be discriminated against to such an extent, to the point that they were called black pigs from beyond the heavens. On the Heavenly Soul World side, the people of the God's world were called demons from beyond the heavens. The difference between the extraterrestrial black boar and the extraterrestrial demon was huge. The extraterrestrial black boar was obviously much more powerful and domineering. Little Kunkin. Chu Yang was truly depressed. You're saying that I'll be called a wild dog here, but I'll be called a black pig in the God's realm. Both a pig and a dog? After saying that, Chu Yang really felt uncomfortable. Master, don't you have the world energy of the myriad God world? In addition, you cultivate the martial arts of the myriad God world. Who would be able to recognize that you are from the Heavenly Soul World? The Ice Koan originally wanted to ridicule him, but when he noticed Chu Yang's displeasure, he decisively shut his mouth. Being called a wild dog was already depressing enough, but in a different place, he was called a black pig. It was as if there was no place for him in this world. How terrible was this feeling? If it was the Ice Koan, it would definitely be in a bad mood. In that case, when I enter the God's world, everything is ready, and I don't lack anything. Chu Yang rubbed his chin and said, My luck is so good, it seems like my plan will work. After returning to the space-time passage, he immediately found Sima Jian. Chapter 1504. Sima Jian was very clear about Chu Yang's character. If there wasn't anything important, he wouldn't come looking for him. As for cultivation, Chu Yang didn't need Sima Jian's guidance. On the contrary, Sima Jian was the one who wanted Chu Yang to give him some pointers. When he saw Chu Yang smiling, Sima Jian couldn't help but blurt out, You can't be thinking about the space-time tunnel again, right? His eyes widened in shock as he stared at Chu Yang. Waha! Chu Yang laughed exaggeratedly. Uncle Sima, I'm going to enter the myriad God's world later. You better not stop me. What? Sima Jian jumped to his feet, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. He looked at Chu Yang from head to toe and said, Kid, are you talking nonsense? Chu Yang was the hope of the Eastern Wilderness. He wouldn't let this brat throw his life away. Entering the myriad God's world? What kind of joke was that? Seeing Sima Jian's reaction, Chu Yang rubbed his nose and said something even more shocking. Senior, please open the space-time tunnel later. I want to use the Heavenly Soul World's lightning tribulation to break the barrier of the myriad God's world. I want to embed my soul mark inside and merge with the myriad God's world. If I'm not wrong, if you punch me, I'll punch you back. The myriad God's world will definitely retaliate. The lightning tribulation will also strike the Heavenly Soul World through the space-time tunnel. Therefore, I can also embed my soul mark into the Heavenly Soul World. After a pause, Chu Yang rubbed his chin and laughed strangely. What ha, Grandpa Chu is really smart. If I don't come out, the world will be lonely and dim. Who dares to be a hero? Ta. Sima Jian didn't seem to have hit Chu Yang hard on the head before. At this time, when he heard Sima Jian's words, he immediately tried to hit Chu Yang. The sound was crisp and clear. Kid, are you dreaming or are you really confused? The Ice Koan was speechless when he heard this. Using the lightning punishment to strike the divine world, then letting the divine world and the Heavenly Soul World fight it out, and then reap the benefits of the fisherman. This idea shocked the Ice Koan to the core. It was easier said than done, but it would be harder than ascending to the heavens. As such, when Chu Yang was about to break through and the lightning tribulation descended, he could quickly enter the space-time tunnel and guide the lightning tribulation to the God's world. At that time, the God realm would definitely react to the invaders. If the heavenly soul world gave the God's world a left hook, the God's world would give the God's world a right hook. The Ice Koan thought for a while and was speechless. How did he come up with such a bullshit idea? But it didn't seem impossible. It could work. As long as there was a space-time tunnel, it could be done. Anyone in the heavenly spirit world could try it. But who would do such a crazy thing? Let alone do it, they probably wouldn't even think about it. This master of mine is really bold. The Ice Koan sighed. If he didn't have the guts, how could he come up with it? Sima Jian was stunned on the spot. The idea was so crazy, but after thinking for a while it seemed that it was worth it. After he recovered, he looked at Chu Yang with a strange gaze. This idea is surprising. Isn't it simple? Chu Yang shrugged and said, Senior, can you look at me with a normal gaze? No. Sima Jian decisively refused. Then he pondered and said, Are you sure that the God's world doesn't have any defenses? If you were late by a second, I'm afraid you would be struck to death by the lightning tribulation. He said very seriously, If you avoid the lightning tribulation like this, the lightning tribulation will definitely change. It's hard to imagine, you know this? Chapter 1505. Where did you get this information from? That's easy. Chu Yang shrugged. I got all the memories of the Ice Koan in the Cave of Frost, so I want to go on a trip to the God's world. That was easy for him to say. Sima Jian was still a little confused until now. How could he agree? He immediately found a better excuse. Even if everything goes according to your plan, the Sky Academy will definitely investigate after such a big movement. What's the explanation at that time? What's the explanation? Chu Yang opened his eyes wide and said in horror, I don't know what happened. I want to ask you, what's going on? If this happened and the Sky Academy came to question him, Chu Yang's conduct would definitely infuriate them to death. You can't, this is too crazy. Sima Jian made a conclusion. Crazy my ass. Chu Yang cursed. Uncle Sima, if you don't take it, you'll be punished. There's such a big pie in front of you, if you don't take it, you won't be woken up by nightmares when you sleep. Sima Jian admitted that Chu Yang's words were reasonable. If Chu Yang's soul mark could be placed in the heavenly soul world and the God's world, what it meant was simply unimaginable. After all, it was impossible to place the soul mark in the heavenly soul world and the God's world. If Sima Jian dared to do it, there was only one result: death. However, if the two worlds clashed and counterattacked each other, there was indeed a great opportunity. If he missed it, he would really cry for his parents and regret it for 10,000 years. Uncle Sima, you should hurry up, Chu Yang said. Why do I feel that someone is also planning to do this? Sima Jian rolled his eyes. Who would dare to do this like a lunatic like you? I say, Uncle, this is such a simple matter. Many people have thought of this. Chu Yang said anxiously. Who wouldn't do such a thing? As long as you can think of it, no one can refuse. Chu Yang really couldn't refuse now. Both of his eyes were emitting green light. Placing one's soul in the heavenly soul world and the myriad gods world, what a joke! If others knew about this, he felt that everyone in the heavenly soul world would be envious to death. Sima Jian's head hurt. Then, he felt relieved and understood everything. How could he guide Chu Yang? How could he teach Chu Yang what to do? At that moment, he said in an annoyed voice, You can do whatever you want, right? Thank you, Uncle. Waha. Chu Yang laughed heartily as he succeeded. Chu Yang laughed happily, causing Sima Jian's mouth to twitch. Was this something to be happy about? Half a day later, Chu Yang and Bing Kuan finished discussing all the details. After that, he began to prepare for the tribulation. During this time, Sima Jian had made thorough preparations. He could completely open the seal at any time to ensure that Chu Yang could quickly enter the spacetime passage and head to the myriad gods world. This wasn't a small matter. If he wasn't careful, he would die without a corpse. This was the same as toying with the two heavens. Sima Jian's nerves were tense. His palms were sweating, and his forehead was covered in sweat. He was even more nervous and pressured than before a life-and-death battle. It was easier said than done. Everything seemed simple, but how many people could actually do it? If it wasn't for Chu Yang's previous experience of successfully guiding the world force of the myriad gods world into his body, Chu Yang might have regretted such a crazy idea, even if he was extraordinary. Rumble. Everything was ready. While Sima Jian was nervous, Chu Yang was preparing to break through to the 9th level of the spirit realm. Chapter 1506. Chu Yang had 21 spirits, and each of them formed a divine spirit. Previously, when he used the Thunder Calamity to threaten Long Xiaojun, Sage Master, and Chen Burang, he didn't want to be discovered, so he only used one of the three group. At this moment, he didn't need to hide anything, and hoped that the Thunder Calamity would be more terrifying. This way, the impact on the world of the gods would be greater, and it would be easier for him to place his soul imprint. 21 spirits, God forbid. In his own deduction, the lightning tribulation would definitely be incomparably terrifying. Rumble. At the center of Chu Yang's eyebrows, the light from the three groups of wheel spirit worlds became brighter and brighter, and three little people faintly appeared. Immediately, the rumbling of thunder suddenly became extremely violent. In an instant, the entire world was shaking, and it made people feel as if the end of the world was coming. In the sky, after the endless lightning flashed for a short while, it suddenly became extremely dark. Day turned into night, and it was so dark that one couldn't even see their own fingers. Damn, Master is only at the spirit realm, but the Thunder Calamity is too terrifying. Even the Thunder Calamity of a sage isn't this terrifying. In Chu Yang's spiritual world, the Ice Koan couldn't help but shiver. It felt a great terror deep in its soul, as if something wanted to completely erase its remnant soul. Such a thunder calamity was even more terrifying than its divine calamity. Sima Jian was also stunned, and he was completely speechless. He never expected that Chu Yang's heavenly calamity would cause such a phenomenon, heavenly change. Heavenly change would only appear when the heavenly change killed creatures that were absolutely not allowed to exist in the world. What happened? What exactly happened? Why did the sky suddenly turn dark? Could it be that the sun in the sky was eaten by someone? Could this be the prelude to the arrival of a catastrophe and the end of the world? When the sky courtyard was established, there was a great turmoil. Such a drastic change made people's hearts tremble. Rumble. A deafening sound resounded throughout the world. As the sky shook and the earth changed, endless lightning flashed. In an instant, the world was several times brighter than during the day, and people immediately understood what had happened. Thunder cloud, the boundless thunder cloud. The boundless thunder cloud has shrouded the entire sky, and not a single ray of light can penetrate it. Lightning tribulation? Who is it? Why is the lightning tribulation so terrifying? Could it be that someone is undergoing the divine tribulation? Is there going to be another saint in our sky? This is not a divine tribulation, this is a heavenly change. A character that the heavens do not allow to exist has appeared in this world. He must be obliterated. The center of the lightning tribulation seems to be in the direction of the space-time passageway. Could it be Chu Yang? He is not tolerated by the heavens. Cries of shock rang out continuously. Who would have thought that such a drastic change would occur? Is it Brother Goat? Shangguanlan naturally knew of the pressure on Chu Yang. She couldn't help but look in the direction of Chu Yang. She was extremely worried. Is Chu Yang really a creature that the heavens do not allow to exist? Xia Wanjin, Lu Yunpeng, Xiong Longxiang, and the parrot were different from the others. They instantly determined that the person who triggered the lightning tribulation must be Chu Yang. However, the lightning tribulation was so terrifying that every one of them was dumbfounded. Especially Xia Wanjin, Lu Yunpeng, and Xiong Longxiang. They had now witnessed how terrifying it was. Freak, what a freak! The ancient demon god was also deeply shocked. He had never seen such a character in his life. He was only at the 8th level of the spirit realm, but he was able to cause a heavenly change. Long Xiaojun, Chen Burang, Shi Jinghan, the sage sovereign and the others were all inexplicably shocked. Fear filled their hearts and surged. Somewhere in the central region, the lightning tribulation was also forming. The person undergoing the tribulation was a scholar. Books and records constantly appeared in his eyes. Chapter 1507. Heavenly Change. The heavens and earth were sometimes dark and sometimes bright. Chu Yang alternated between darkness and light. Looking at the entire sky turning into a thunder cloud, he was dumbfounded. He thought that since he was at the 9th stage of the spirit realm, the lightning tribulation would definitely be terrifying. However, he never thought that it would be this terrifying. Damned heavens! Tell Grandpa Chu which eye of yours is not pleasing to the eye. I will definitely break that eye of yours. Chu Yang almost couldn't help but activate the 3-character scripture. If he didn't have the thought of going to the world of gods, he would have been killed while breaking through. Is it because of the 21 souls, or because I absorbed the world force of the world of gods into my body? Or is it because of my transmigration? He couldn't figure it out. In any case, no matter what it was, it couldn't change the fact that the heavenly change had occurred. Ha ha! Chu Yang immediately laughed loudly. Come, heavenly change, come even more fiercely. As long as he thought about the terrifying lightning tribulation, he would definitely be able to create a huge hole in the world of gods. His bad mood instantly disappeared, and it was incomparably beautiful. This was simply helping him. Perhaps there would be a big surprise later. He might even be able to obtain the world origin of the world of gods. It was like two people fighting, and the person who attacked first actually took out a knife and stabbed the other person to kill. Blood would definitely spurt out. The blood was the world origin. Sima Jian really admired Chu Yang. He was actually happy instead of being angry. This was a heavenly change. Couldn't he be a little more careful? Moreover, you're not here to watch the show. Why aren't you worried about the situation? Rumble. The heavens and earth seemed like they were about to collapse. The buildings trembled and shook violently. Endless thunder surged out from the center of the thunder cloud. It was like a huge sun, causing the heavens and earth to no longer be dark. Everyone could clearly see that at the bottom of the thunder cloud, there were 4 objects, but they were too blurry to be seen clearly. In just an instant, the 4 objects were incomparably clear. Although they appeared from the lightning tribulation, they were no different from real objects. However, the people who saw the 4 objects were instantly in an uproar. Guillotine, the heavenly guillotine. Heavens, the heavenly guillotine actually appeared. The heavenly guillotine can only be used to kill. Only those who have committed great sins will appear in this world. If heaven and earth were an imperial court, then anyone who violated the laws of heaven would be committing a great crime, a great traitor. At the same time, he would also be severely punished. He would be greeted with a guillotine and beheaded. The difference was that the heavenly Tao was not the imperial court, and the horror of the guillotine displayed was unimaginable. After the initial hubbub, the people looked at the 4 guillotines below the thunder cloud. Soon, there was no sound and the world was deathly silent. Of the 4 guillotines, one was a dog's head, one was a wolf's head, one was a tiger's head, and one was a dragon's head. It was rumored that the heavens guillotine contained many malicious things and many types of curses. When it was released, black clouds would fill the sky, and ghosts would weep and gods would howl. The world would be dyed in blood, and a yellow rain of corpses would fall. Not to mention chopping off the head. As long as the skin and flesh were cut open, the blood and flesh would be contaminated with the poison and curse on the head, and the death would be extremely painful. The death would be incomparably miserable, and it was said that it could even scare a person to death. Brother Goat. Shangguanlan's heart was already in a knot. Worry, anxiety, fear. In an instant, she felt as if she had fallen into an endless hell, suffering endless pain. The heavenly guillotine. Sima Jian's mouth and tongue were dry. He stared blankly at the 4 guillotines, unable to speak for a long time. This pervert has finally met a fierce one. This time, he's probably in danger. Xia Wanjin, Lu Yunpeng, and Xiong Longxiang were also anxious and fearful. Their soul imprints were all in Chu Yang's hands. If Chu Yang died, they would also turn into ashes. The parrot was laughing strangely. Chu Heng must be jumping up and down right now. He must be cursing. Chapter 1508. As for the others, they were still guessing if the person who caused the change was Chu Yang. Everyone in the Sky Academy was also concerned about this question, especially the Holy Master, Long Xiaojun, and Chen Burang. The 3 of them quickly rejected the idea that it was Chu Yang who had triggered the Thunder Tribulation. It was indeed extremely terrifying, but it definitely didn't cause the change in the sky. However, from this point, they could almost conclude that it wasn't Chu Yang, but they weren't sure. Chu Yang didn't expect such benefits. He cursed, "Heaven guillotine, fuck you, 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 you've gone too far." Although he had hoped that the lightning tribulation would be as powerful as possible, Chu Yang was still infuriated to the point where he was disapproved by the heavens and earth. Rumble. While Chu Yang was cursing, the dragon head guillotine under the thunder cloud vibrated and flashed with endless lightning. It faintly looked like it was about to fall and behead the sinner. Such a change caused people to exclaim again. It's actually the dragon head guillotine, which means that this person's identity is extremely noble. If the heavenly Tao is the imperial court, then this person is the royal family, a prince. Since when did our Sky Academy have such a noble person? People are divided into different classes. The one who uses the dragon head guillotine is a superior person. If this person can pass the thunder tribulation, it's unimaginable. No matter how vast the world is, he can go anywhere. Shangguanlan looked at the dragon head guillotine and muttered to herself, "Noble? I've never cared whether Brother Yang is noble or not." She would rather use the dragon head guillotine because it was much weaker than the dragon head guillotine. That way, Chu Yang's chances of survival would be higher. Ha ha ha, this is normal. Chu Heng must use the dragon head guillotine. Otherwise, if it was the dog head guillotine, Chu Heng would definitely curse the heavens. Isn't this looking down on him? The parrot laughed even more happily, but without an opponent, Lu Yunpeng and the other 2 were in trouble. Do you see that? The wild dog you speak of is much nobler than you. If the heavens want to kill him, they have to use the dragon head guillotine. Let's see how the 3 of you can still be so arrogant. Not only was it wrong to be arrogant, but it was also meritorious. As long as Chu Yang could survive the lightning tribulation, he would be able to do so. How would the 3 of them know that Chu Yang's identity was so noble? If the heavens wanted to behead him, they would actually use the dragon head guillotine. If they could be beheaded by the dog head guillotine, that would be quite good. Woo woo woo. The cries of ghosts and howls of wolves suddenly erupted in the world. It was as if there were countless ghosts and monsters, countless people who had died unjustly and tragically, were howling miserably. The sound was terrifying and made one's scalp tingle. Rumble. Thunder suddenly exploded again. In an instant, the sky and earth were dyed in the color of blood. Yellow corpse water poured down from the sky. The heavy rain was majestic, but it was a dusky yellow. Black ghostly winds and blood-colored demonic winds rose everywhere. Fortunately, this only targeted the person undergoing the tribulation and had no effect on others. Otherwise, who knew how many people would have died? Chapter 1509. Kun, can I escape from such a bullshit thunder calamity? He couldn't help but ask Bing Kun. At that moment, he was really nervous. It shouldn't be a problem. Bing Kun wasn't sure. But master, think about it. If the criminal escapes from the territory of the ruler can do nothing about it. Chu Yang liked such a metaphor. He was now beside the space-time tunnel, which meant that he was one step away from escaping. He didn't escape because he wanted to tease the ruler, provoke him and mock him. Ha ha! He couldn't help but laugh. As a criminal, he felt good to be able to get away with it. Be nervous, Sima Jian said angrily. The thunder calamity is coming. Don't be so happy. This made Chu Yang's heart warm up. Suddenly, he thought of Sima Jianji's safety and said anxiously, Senior, immediately open the seal and escape. Otherwise, you will definitely die if you are involved in the thunder calamity. Buzz. Sima Jian's mind was blown. What Chu Yang said made him break out in cold sweat. He was so concerned about the little bastard's safety that he forgot about his own life. He opened the seal immediately and fled. He didn't dare to stay for a moment. Rumble. After Sima Jian fled, the dragon head guillotine shook more violently and the thunder became more violent. Finally, the dragon head guillotine fell. It was so slow that even a snail wasn't that slow. Afterwards, even though the dragon's guillotine was incomparably heavy, even heavier than the mountains and stars, it still fluttered down like a goose feather. Master, be careful. Bing Kuan's soul started to tremble at this moment. Chu Yang nodded. Life and death were on the line. If he succeeded, he would have a bright future. But before that, he couldn't afford to be careless. If he was careless, he would be playing with his life. Rumble. Something strange happened. When the dragon's guillotine was halfway to the ground, thunder suddenly erupted. It was incomparably ferocious, shaking the entire sky and earth. Woo woo woo. The speed at which the dragon-head guillotine fell suddenly became extremely fast. It was as if a mountain was falling, as if a star was falling from the sky. It emitted a sharp whistling sound. The ghastly and demonic winds became even more violent, and so did the yellow rain. The corpse water droplets were like corpses. It was fine if he did not move, but once he did, he moved like thunder. It was as if the thunder tribulation was trying to catch a criminal. It even knew that the criminal could escape at any time. Previously, they would definitely not act rashly and alert the enemy, but once they took action, they were incomparably swift. Is there a need to go this far? Even lightning tribulation can be like this, just like humans, scheming and scheming. Although he said that, Chu Yang did not hesitate to jump into the space-time tunnel when the dragon-head guillotine suddenly changed. If this place doesn't want me, there will be a place for me. Grandpa Chu is such an outstanding person, where would he not be awe-inspiring? Why would I care about this lousy place of yours? His voice was instantly extinguished. The moment he jumped into the space-time passageway, the dragon space guillotine appeared out of thin air with a cracking sound. It slashed fiercely at Chu Yang's original position. If Chu Yang had been slightly slower, he would have been chopped into two. How lucky! Chu Yang was already sweating. The dragon-head guillotine was simply a demon. Fortunately, he was cautious just now. But in the next moment, his expression suddenly changed. With a flash of space-time, the dragon-head guillotine had already appeared in front of him. Chapter 1510. Chu Yang was chopped into two halves by the dragon guillotine, but there wasn't a single drop of blood, Not even a single piece of flesh could be seen. The two halves of Huang Xiaolong's body twisted and disappeared without a trace. It was just an afterimage of spacetime. In that split second, Chu Yang felt a mighty force locking him down. But in the next second, another mighty force emerged, resisting the first. However, the second mighty force was slightly weaker. Chu Yang barely managed to escape with the help of the Kuan's spacetime technique. The heavenly spirit world's world energy. The myriad divine world's world energy. I'm closer to the heavenly spirit world, so the heavenly spirit world's world energy is stronger. I'm further away from the myriad divine world, so the myriad divine world's world energy is weaker. Although Chu Yang had a general understanding of the situation, he was still drenched in cold sweat. If he wanted to break free from the dragon head guillotine, he would need to reach the second half of the spacetime tunnel. Before that, he would be in extreme danger. As expected, the same thing happened again. The spacetime tunnel was sealed again, and the two worlds' world energies were fighting. The difference was that the heavenly spirit world's world energy was much stronger than before. It was like a madman, and the myriad divine world's world energy was much weaker. Although Chu Yang managed to break free, he still couldn't escape from the dragon head guillotine's range. Devil Avatar. He used the Godfiend twins' divine ability and used his demon avatar to block and lure the dragon head guillotine while his true body fled madly. He didn't need to look back to know that it was impossible for the devil avatar to block the dragon head guillotine. The moment it came into contact with the devil avatar, it would be destroyed. The devil avatar was destroyed and the profound energy returned. However, there was a great sharpness and a will of slaughter that prevented the devil avatar from recovering. Chu Yang was sure that if the devil avatar wasn't formed by the Darkness Devil Emperor and Radiant Sovereign's 7 soul origins, as well as the support of the Destiny twins, his devil god twins would have been destroyed. There was no way for him to recover. Clang! 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 Surprisingly, the saber and sword martial spirits took the initiative to rush out and crazily devoured the killing aura. In an instant they had completely devoured it. The aura of the two martial spirits that could annihilate everything became even more intense. Divine Clone. Demon Avatar. Chu Yang didn't know how many times he had done this. Fortunately, he had the divine demon twins to defend himself. Fortunately, his saber and sword martial spirit could devour that kind of killing power. Otherwise, he would have been chopped into two by the dragon head guillotine. Fortunately, I restrained myself and didn't rashly raise my cultivation level. Otherwise, it would have been unimaginable. The saber and sword martial spirit had the soul-slaying and soul-exterminating profound. At this moment, it was continuously devouring the destructive power of the dragon head guillotine, causing the soul-slaying and soul-exterminating profound to become even more powerful. In addition, the two martial spirits didn't just have the soul-slaying and soul-exterminating profound, they had also become incomparably terrifying. In the future, when Chu Yang used them, he would be able to kill the enemy's soul without any suspense. At this moment, time became incomparably long and also incomparably torturous. Chu Yang's nerves were stretched taut at every moment. When he realized that the dragon head guillotine couldn't catch up to him, his heart relaxed slightly. I've passed the first half. In just a short moment, Chu Yang felt as if he had gone through countless cycles of reincarnation, birth and death countless times. In the second half, the power of the divine world became even more powerful as Chu Yang thought. Even if he didn't use the divine demon twins, the dragon head guillotine wouldn't be able to catch up to him. However, he didn't dare to be careless and rushed forward at his fastest speed. Chapter 15:11. It wasn't that he doubted Bing Kuan. After all, Bing Kuan had been trapped for a long time, and it was inevitable that there would be changes in the gods' world. As far as Chu Yang was concerned, if there were any changes in the world of gods, it would be extremely fatal. The light had been imprinted in his eyes, and it was as if he could see the hole above him from the bottom of a hole. The light was getting brighter and brighter, and the hole was getting bigger and bigger. Spirits of the heavens, spirits of the earth, bless Buddha, bless Supreme Tao Master, bless Amen. In the midst of Chu Yang's apprehension, he rushed out of the space-time passageway with a whoosh. In an instant, he was like a fish in a river, and fiercely rushed into an endless ocean. In an instant, he felt the vastness of the ocean, as well as the enormous surging waves. That was the power of the world of the gods. Boom! As soon as he entered the gods' world, there was a great change in his body. Originally, the heavenly spirit world's martial arts system was dominant, while the gods' world's martial arts system was hidden. At this moment, the two sides had switched. The heavenly spirit world was hidden, and the gods' world was revealed. Endless light burst out from the heavenly spirit world in his body, and his yuan shun began to condense. Completely different comprehension, Chu Yang's perception surged in his body, as if he was tasting two supreme dishes. Master, go! Bing Kuan said anxiously. Now is not the time to comprehend. The heavenly spirit world's lightning tribulation and the dragon head guillotine will collide with the gods' world. Once you are involved, you will die without a complete corpse. Chu Yang quivered, and it was as if he had fallen from a gentle land into an ice cave. Ignoring everything, he used the space-time technique to escape. Rumble! An incomparably loud explosion sounded, and Chu Yang could clearly feel the burst of dazzling light behind him, drowning the heaven and earth in front of him. It was as if his back was hit by a mountain, and he was blasted away uncontrollably. For a short period of time, he had completely lost his perception, but it was only for a moment, and all his senses were restored. Master, let's go back quickly. Such a collision can only temporarily break the space-time barrier of the gods' world. If we hesitate, we will lose the chance. Chu Yang knew that this was the case, and he roared in his heart, "Fight!" Vast astral winds, endless surging waves of energy, and incomparably dazzling light. It was as if he was charging towards the sun. Fortunately, he was using space-time arts, or he wouldn't have been able to get close at all. Even when he used space-time arts, he was greatly affected. The space-time in the area was distorted and surging. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Chu Yang appeared at the very center of the explosion. He couldn't sense anything at all, and could only see the situation from the perspective of the popsicle. A massive hole had appeared, and it was like primordial chaos energy, surging out from within. There's so much origin energy in the god world. He was overjoyed and shouted, "Entrust the primordial spirit." A soul imprint was immediately sent in. This was like planting a tree, burying a seed and waiting for it to grow into a big tree in the future. The space-time barrier of the god realm had been opened so wide and so deep that it would be like planting a seed in the best environment, in the best soil, and it would grow even faster. Devour, devour without limit. Don't let go of a single bit. He used the Destiny Twins' martial soul, and it was as if he had turned into a huge black hole, crazily devouring the origin energy of the god realm. However, his whole body swelled up in an instant, and when he was about to explode with a bang, the Destiny Twins' martial soul operated, and he felt as if he was being pulled, and something rushed out of his body. Chapter 15:12. Doppelganger. He finally understood. He had swallowed too much of the divine world's origin and his body couldn't contain it anymore. The Destiny Twins took out another bottle from his body and filled it with water. However, this bottle was his doppelganger, a doppelganger formed by the divine world's origin. It could be called the Heaven Doppelganger. He could clearly feel that the Destiny Twins, the Ice Koan, the Reincarnation Gourd, the Pentagram Star, the Five Elements Heaven Ring, the thousand creation great millstone, the golden origin, and so on were all crazily devouring the divine world's origin. The Destiny twins were extremely mysterious, and he couldn't determine their current state. However, the other martial souls had become even more powerful. It was as if they had gained a physical body and even condensed their own world. The reincarnation gourd, the pentagram star, and so on were all the same. They had all formed their own worlds in the deepest part of the divine world. The ice koan was resurrected in an instant. The process of its resurrection was so violent and so short that Chu Yang couldn't even sense it. "Master, it won't be too late to be shocked later. This is a great fortune. Hurry up and return to the heavenly soul world. The divine world will definitely retaliate." The ice koan roared. Then, before Chu Yang could move, the ice koan disappeared with him in a whoosh, crazily passing through the space-time passage. He didn't have much time to sense it before he appeared in front of a huge space-time hole. It was even bigger than the space-time hole in the divine world, and the origin was even more abundant. Chu Yang couldn't care about anything else. His mind was in a daze. The happiness was too great, but his movements weren't slow. He immediately sent his soul imprint into the space-time hole and crazily devoured the heavenly soul world's origin. Whether it was the heavenly soul world or the divine world, these two worlds were too powerful. Their origin couldn't be compared to the origin of other worlds. Therefore, the effect of their origin on the soul and the body was unimaginable and immeasurable. How could Chu Yang miss out on this opportunity? His heaven doppelganger in the heavenly soul world was formed very quickly. It felt the same as when he was in the divine world. Because of the sharp increase in soul strength, even if the space-time hole was the center of the explosion, the light was incomparably intense. In addition to the space-time disorder, it couldn't completely affect his perception. He could clearly sense the situation in his body. The 21 spirits were also madly devouring. Although the 3 spirits that had just been formed had not yet been nurtured, they had already become incomparably prosperous after absorbing the origins of the 2 worlds. The moment the 3 spirits were formed, they were like 3 oceans. Their auras surged like waves, and they were also like 3 suns, releasing endless light. The heavenly abode within his body was also crazily swallowing the source energy of the heavenly soul world. However, the heavenly soul world's martial arts system was the main character at this moment, and its changes had yet to manifest. "Waha, Master, this is an unprecedented good fortune. I've been completely resurrected." The ice koan imitated the parrot and laughed strangely. It was very happy. "But I'm not in a hurry to transform into a koan purring. I want to bask in the glory of my master. The koan purring is definitely not my limit." Chu Yang was still in a daze and had no time to reply. His body was acting according to the prediction of the Destiny martial spirit to ensure that it did its best. "Uncle, this is my present for you. Come and get it yourself later." The space-time hole in the heavenly soul world closed at the fastest speed, and then erupted with even more source energy than the god's world. Therefore, Chu Yang collected a lot of it for Sima Jian and the parrot. Then, he entered the space-time tunnel again and flew towards the god's world. Chu Yang's heavenly abode still needed to transform, and his primordial spirit still needed to be condensed. Thus, the god's world was the most suitable place. Therefore, he withdrew his avatar from the heavenly soul world and disappeared from where he stood. When Sima Jian heard the sound, he quickly flew over and saw a gourd floating in the air. He sensed it slightly and his soul trembled. The heavenly soul world's source energy! Such a gift was earth-shattering. If news of this were to spread out, Sima Jian would die without a doubt. Therefore, he looked at the space-time tunnel in a daze. But when he came to his senses, he shook violently and immediately sealed the space-time tunnel again, erasing all traces. Such a thing no one could know. Chapter 1513. Pop, pop. Sima Jian's spacetime had just stabilized, and he had just erased the main traces when the spacetime fluctuation appeared immediately. When he sensed the fluctuation, he immediately turned into an ice-cold stone. His face turned completely cold in an instant. Brother Sima, what happened here? Who caused the change in the sky? Sima Jian, you'd better tell us what happened. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. Yes, this is a serious matter. If anything happens, our Sky Academy won't be able to bear it. I didn't expect to see the change in the sky in my lifetime. It's a pity. Before he finished, Sima Jian said coldly, "Are you threatening me? You can attack me now." All of a sudden, there was silence. Sima Jian sneered and said, "Saint Master, you're so impressive. How dare the original kid be so presumptuous in front of me?" The leader and Saint Master of the Sky Academy were the first to speak. The rest were the old monsters of the Sky Academy. "Brother Sima, I apologize to you," the leader of the Sky Academy said, "but this is a serious matter. I hope you can tell us the truth." "Humph," Sima Jian sneered. "Haven't you already thought of it? You can't accept it, right? The person who caused the change in the sky is the wild dog in the eastern wilderness. How do you feel now?" There was silence again. Sima Jian admitted that the person who caused the change in the sky was Chu Yang. It was a big blow to them. He had no choice but to do so. He couldn't hide it. Therefore, he might as well say it directly to cover up a more shocking secret. "Ha ha!" Sima Jian laughed loudly. In the silence, he seemed to see the faces of the people of the Sky Academy. They were very happy. If the eastern wilderness was a dog, then what was the East Continent? Chu Yang caused the change in the sky. The guillotine that fell was the dragon head guillotine. It was so noble that no one in the East Continent could compare with it. Who dared to belittle him and the eastern wilderness? Belittling Chu Yang was like belittling the heavenly Tao. If one was disrespectful to the heavenly Tao, one had to be careful when crossing the tribulation. Not to mention when searching for the heavenly Tao. Ha ha! The more Sima Jian thought about it, the happier he felt. He had never felt so happy in his entire life. He felt even more excited. Chu Yang was from the eastern wilderness. How could there be no one in the eastern wilderness? "Congratulations, Brother Sima," the leader of the Sky Academy said again. "May I ask where Chu Yang is now?" As soon as the leader's voice fell, the Sage Master's harsh voice rang out. "He should be thoroughly dead." "Humph." Sima Jian coldly snorted and looked in the direction of the Saint Sovereign. "Little brat, I will pass on your words to him." The Sage Master was obviously stunned. "Then," he asked, "if he didn't die, where is he?" "Ha ha!" Sima Jian laughed mockingly. "Little brat, do you think I will tell you?" After a pause, he said resolutely, "None of you should even think about knowing where he is. We're just asking. Why do you have to do this? Indeed, we're just asking. We mean no harm." Ha ha! Sima Jian couldn't help but laugh happily again. What did it mean to be a person who caused the change in the sky? What did it mean to be able to survive such a tribulation? Not only was he clear about it, but the members of the Sky Academy were also clear about it. They had to soften their tone. How could he not laugh? How could he not be happy? "Sima Jian, don't be arrogant," the Sage Master said coldly. "Arrogant?" Sima Jian was amused. He sneered sharply. "I am arrogant, but there is someone more arrogant than me. Little brat, wait for him to reason with you. Ha ha!" Chapter 1514. Just as the parrot was about to cry out in alarm after obtaining the essence of the heavenly soul world, Sima Jian's attack cracked its head open. Everyone instantly became alert. This was a great secret and even more so a great calamity. If word of this got out, there would definitely be a reign of terror. Wah ha ha ha! The parrot was laughing inside despite having its head cracked open. It was the one who had obtained the most secrets of the world's essence, but how could it say that? The parrot was convinced that this was Chu Hang's idea. After it, Cui Xinho and the others should be next, followed by Xia Wanjin and the others. Of course, Sima Jian was thinking the same thing. Of course, this was the result. Lu Yunping was so shocked that he looked like a little bird. He finally understood why his grandfather wanted him to stay with Chu Yang. As for Xia Wanjin and Xiong Longxiang, their eyes were shining. They knew that following Chu Yang would bring them huge profits, but never could they have imagined that they would get such a huge benefit now. What about later? It was unimaginable. In the Central Plains, at a certain space-time channel, thunder rumbled. 8 old men had already opened up a space-time channel in the form of 8 trigrams. A clone of the young man transcending tribulation walked out of his body, and an ancient book appeared above his head. It looked like a heavenly tome. As soon as it appeared, all sorts of ancient texts from the Confucian school filled the area. Rumble. When the tribulation lightning descended, the book allowed the main body to avoid it, and then guided the lightning toward the clone, who then entered the space-time tunnel. In the next moment, a loud rumbling sound rang out. The space there exploded, and the 8 old men were instantly obliterated. The book blocked the impact, and the young man who was facing the tribulation was blasted flying. His flesh and blood exploded into a lump. Light flashed and life energy surged. He came back to life, but when he looked at the shattered space-time tunnel, he stood there in a daze, trembling. What's going on? How could I fail? The Kong clan is the leader of the Heavenly Soul World's literary arts, and we're proficient in divination. We've divined 10 generations of people. How could we be wrong? That's impossible. That's impossible. He roared for a while before realizing something. He quickly muttered to himself, I felt anger just now, 2 different kinds of anger. Could it be the anger of the Heavenly Soul Realm and the God Realm? He immediately began to deduce what was going on. But then, his eyes went wide, and he seemed to have lost his soul. Who beat me to it? Is that why the Heavenly Soul World and the God World both realized there was a flaw in the operation of the Heavenly Tao and fixed it? Is that why I failed? He was bewitched for a while. After confirming that this was the general situation, he roared, Who? Who is it? You stole 10 generations of my Kong clan's hard work, killed 8 of my Kong clan sages, and destroyed one of my clones. I, Kong Jingshi, will never forgive you. Kong Jingshi's hysterical roar resounded through the entire area. Many people heard his roar and felt his anger. Immediately, they distanced themselves from him. However, the culprit of all this had no idea at all. Chu Yang did not expect that he would be able to escape death. If Kong Jingshi was first and he was second, he would definitely die. At the same time, the heavenly grotto heaven inside of him was changing. When he entered the God realm, he had to switch between 2 different systems of cultivation. He had no choice but to focus on cultivation. Rumble. In the depths of his heavenly grotto heaven, violet energy rolled out. It was 20,000 kilometers long, and the ice Kuan was so shocked that it almost transformed from a Kuan fish into a Kuan pung. Violet Palace Grotto Heaven. In other words, another heavenly grotto heaven was about to appear. Chapter 1515. 8,000 miles of purple energy was already the limit. 9,000 miles of purple energy had never been seen before, much less 10,000 miles of purple energy. Where did this 20,000 miles of purple energy come from? The ice Kuan was from the Kuan Pung race, and it had only reached the limit of 800,000 miles of purple energy. The longer the purple energy, the bigger the grotto heaven, and the stronger the grotto heaven. Wang. A huge vortex appeared at the center of the grotto heaven, and the purple energy gathered at one point before collapsing. The second grotto heaven was quickly formed, but as soon as the second grotto heaven was formed, purple energy rolled out from its center. The Ice Koan was completely dumbfounded. 30,000 miles of purple energy? What's going on? Chu Yang had absorbed the origins of two worlds and formed a grotto heaven within a grotto heaven. That was understandable, but forming a third grotto heaven? What the hell was going on? Hiss, the Ice Koan couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. He couldn't understand what was going on. In fact, Chu Yang didn't understand what was going on either. At first, he was able to control it, but in the end everything went out of control, and he became a bystander. 30,000 miles of purple energy. 40,000 miles of purple energy. 50,000 miles of purple energy. The third grotto heaven was formed, then the fourth, the fifth, and finally 10,000 miles of purple energy appeared, and the 11th grotto heaven was formed. The Ice Koan was dumbfounded. After racking his brains, he finally remembered a vague legend in his memory. There was an ancient legend in the god world. 10 levels of heaven, 10 levels of primordial divinity, and the infinite sovereign. There was a legend in the god world that said there had once been a supreme sovereign. The strongest sovereign was known as the infinite sovereign, or the sovereign of the 10 levels of heaven. The infinite sovereign hoped to create endless grotto heavens and endless primordial divinities. The endless primordial divinities would become endless godheads and endless world. The endless primordial divinities would become the sovereign, and so on. The second grotto heaven was stronger than the first, and the second primordial divinity was stronger than the first, and so on. Heaven after heaven, heaven beyond heaven, endless heaven. However, it was still a mystery whether the infinite sovereign had ever existed. In fact, the supreme existences of the god world all said the same thing: there was no such thing as the infinite sovereign. Because of that, the legend became a joke. No one believed it, and it was never passed down. Ice Koan didn't think of it because of that fact. If that's the case, could it be that the infinite dominator actually existed? But why would the legacy of the infinite sovereign appear on Master? Could it be that Master is somehow connected to the infinite sovereign? While Bing Koan was stunned and bewildered, his entire body shook again, as if he had found the answer. Before the infinite sovereign died, he once injected his own essence into the essence of the various god world. Could it be that the essence that just gushed out is the infinite sovereign's sovereign essence? There was very little information about the infinite dominator. Furthermore, it was extremely fragmented and vague. The Ice Koan didn't know whether its deduction was correct or not. However, this was the only explanation that made sense. It belonged to the god realm, and even it hadn't had any interactions with the infinite sovereign, so how could Chu Yang possibly have any? Chu Yang was a bit taken aback. There were 11 heavenly grottos, and 11 nascent divinities were forming. He couldn't help but ask the Koan, what's going on? Are 11 heavenly grottos and 11 nascent divinities very powerful? 11 heavenly abodes. 11 nascent divinities. The Ice Koan's mind exploded. Master, you broke through the limits of the infinite sovereign's heavenly grottos. Could it be that the infinite sovereign's deduction was correct? Chapter 15-16. What exactly are you feeling, Koan? Have you reached the level of the 3-character classic? Chu Yang knew it was shocking. After all, he had obtained the essence of the god world. Therefore, as soon as he did, the Ice Koan began to curse. Koan, that #yen %%. #yen. Awesome. After cursing, the Ice Koan turned to Chu Yang and said, "My lord, you're crazy. The essence of the god world, just now, is very likely the essence of the infinite sovereign." The infinite sovereign? Chu Yang thought for a moment. Koan, is there really such a coincidence? The Ice Koan didn't know what to say. It wasn't just a coincidence, it was ridiculously coincidental. Could it be that the space-time barrier of the God world had been broken, and the essence of the infinite sovereign had been spat out? It didn't seem logical, but it did seem to be the case. "My lord, I'm so stupid that I can't even figure it out. I can't even be sure if the infinite sovereign exists or not." The Ice Koan was like an ant on a hot pan in Chu Yang's body, scurrying back and forth until it seemed like it would burst into flames at any moment. It used its body to express two big words. Magical. Damn, it was really magical. "Koan Koan, if you can't figure it out, then so be it. There are so many things in the world that can't be figured out." Chu Yang didn't understand, and his head hurt. Ignoring it, he threw it all to the back of his mind. Meanwhile, the 11 nascent divinities in his 11 heavenly caves were fully formed. Shortly after, the 11 of them seemed to have fused into one and disappeared. It looked like there was only one heavenly abode and one primordial spirit. However, 11 divine rings appeared behind Chu Yang's head. The void around him was collapsing, and the vital energy of heaven and earth in the God world was being sucked away. Bam! Chu Yang had only just arrived in the God world, so he didn't understand the environment. Furthermore, he had caused such a huge disturbance that he couldn't help but feel uneasy. Therefore, after his grotto heaven and primordial spirit stabilized, he immediately stopped cultivating. However, the moment he stood up abruptly, the stone and soil on the ground shot up like water, exploding into a huge crater, and he fell into it. "What's going on? I didn't use any strength. I just wanted to stand up." He was indescribably shocked. However, at the bottom of the pit, his feet moved slightly. Immediately, the ground beneath his feet began to tremble and cracks began to spread out from under his feet. He used too much force and didn't get used to the sudden increase in strength? Chu Yang immediately tested the power of his physical body. With just a move, the crater instantly exploded. Endless dragon roars rang out from his body, resounding throughout the world. 90,000 dragon strength. Why did my strength suddenly increase by so much? A total of 70,000 dragon power points. Originally, he only had 20,000 dragon points. Now, he had 180,000 dragon points when he unleashed his 9-fold burst. That was more than enough to kill a 9th-level heavenly fusion realm. Now, with his 90,000 dragon power, he could easily kill a Transcendence 7th-level cultivator with just his strength alone. A first-tier Transcendence realm warrior could be killed with 200,000 dragon powers. A second-tier Transcendence realm warrior would require 300,000 dragon powers. A fourth-tier Transcendence realm warrior would require 400,000 dragon powers. So on and so forth. A 9th-tier Transcendence realm warrior would require 1,000,000 dragon powers. It should be because I devoured the two world origins. My two avatars are the same. Chu Yang shook his head. Let's not think about this. Let's get out of this place first. Describing this place as a place of trouble wasn't an exaggeration. However, when he looked around, it was dead silent. There wasn't a single living being. He couldn't help but ask, "Koan Koan, what's going on? With such a big commotion, there shouldn't be no one here." Damn it, he had caused the heavenly spirit realm's lightning punishment to bombard the God world. Wasn't this big enough? Hee. Bing Koan laughed. "Master, there's a reason why I'm so sure that there's no danger coming through the passage. Master, do you know what this place is?" Chapter 15-17. The Ice Koan didn't beat around the bush because the consequences were severe. As a master, it was easy to be narrow-minded. If it wasn't happy, it might take revenge and give it a hard time. It laughed and said, "Ha ha, master, this is the abyss of sin." Abyss of sin? Chu Yang rubbed his chin and said, "Little Koan, I understand now. This is the bottom of an abyss. It's similar to a place used to exile mortals, but prisoners are still humans. He was unhappy, the abyss is so big. The other people in the God world can say they don't know, but the prisoners here have no reason to. They dare to look down on me. The Ice Koan said in its mind, "Let's see." It said carefully, "Master, the prisoners here can't come here easily. They need to be at least in the incipient God realm to pass through the lava. Also, the lava area is huge. No matter how big the commotion is, the abyss of sin won't sense it." The incipient God realm was the God realm, which corresponded to the transcendence realm of the heavenly spirit world. As for the true God realm of the Nirvana realm, it corresponded to the heavenly God realm of the life and death realm, also known as the mid-God realm and the high God realm. Chu Yang already knew this from the Ice Koan. He rubbed his chin and said with a smile, "You're using the lava to test and filter the cultivation of the invaders so that the heavenly spirit world won't look down on you, right? The people who came up with this thing are very prideful. They even have requirements for the level of the cannon fodder." If Chu Yang guessed correctly, the Ice Koan would flatter him. "Master is wise." "Of course." Chu Yang said, "Little Koan, tell me more about the abyss of sin." "Yes, Master." The Ice Koan explained the abyss of sin in general. It was different from what Chu Yang thought. The abyss of sin was used to exile prisoners and use them as cannon fodder to open a path. The abyss of sin that Chu Yang was in was actually called the Beast Abyss. Most of the people who were exiled here were ferocious beasts, as well as some people who were disliked by the big shots of the divine world. There were also some people who escaped into the Beast Abyss, but in short, this was a country of beasts. The Beast Abyss was a place where a few supreme characters of the divine world had set up. It was incomparably vast, and there were many treasures growing inside. There were even places for the beasts to cultivate, allowing them to cultivate with half the effort and increase their strength rapidly. Add to that the constant war between the heavenly spirit world and the celestial world, the Beast Abyss had many big shots stationed there. Many big shots even died in the Beast Abyss. Due to various reasons, the Beast Pool gradually became a hunting ground or training ground, and there would frequently be people coming down to hunt ferocious beasts or search for treasures. Inside the Beast Abyss, there were some extremely powerful fierce beasts. There were also quite a few people who came here to look for Mount. I like this kind of place." Chu Yang laughed sinisterly. The Beast Abyss was a place where people from all walks of life gathered. There was no need to worry about his identity, it was enough for him to play around. He immediately left the Beast Abyss and headed towards the lava sea. Just as he was looking at the lava sea, a loud roar entered his ears. "Haha, it's the heavenly black pig, it's the heavenly black pig. Old Zhu, have hit the jackpot today." The voice was loud and clear, and it rolled like waves. "You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.